best company to work with is Birch Gold. So text the word PROTECT to 989898 to get everything you need to know about protecting your savings with gold.
93.9 The Eagle News Time with Robinson's Cleaners. Robinson saves you time. It is 6:03. We do have some rain falling right now across mid-Missouri. We don't think there's going to be anything severe in our area today. However, that may not be the case tomorrow nor Wednesday. More on that in just a moment. Good morning, everyone. Here are some of the stories that we are working on for you in the 6 o'clock hour. This is expected to be a very active week of weather across Missouri, but there will be some dry time as well. There is some good news as well today. The National Weather Service in Kansas City says there is no severe weather threat in central Missouri today. However, a few strong to severe storms are possible today along the I-44 corridor and point south, especially if you're heading to those areas, Lebanon and Rolla specifically. If you're driving to those areas today, you can expect to see severe storms. As for mid-Missouri, NWS Kansas City meteorologist Pam Patrica tells 93.9 The Eagle that the storms that originate tomorrow in Kansas and Oklahoma could bring severe storms to the 93.9 The Eagle listening area late tomorrow night into Wednesday. You want to keep your radio tuned to 93.9 The Eagle for updated forecast information. Meantime, Columbia police say the victim who was shot on Orchard Lane on Saturday afternoon suffered life-threatening injuries. CPD investigators say the incident happened in broad daylight Saturday about 4 o'clock in the 4600 block of Orchard. That's near McKee Street Park. It's also near the busy Clark Lane Ballinger roundabout. When officers arrived on scene, they learned the victim had been taken to an area hospital in a personal vehicle. CPD's Criminal Investigations Division describes the investigation as ongoing. If you have any information on the incident, you're urged to call Columbia Crime Stoppers, and that phone number is 573-875-TIPS. Missouri Senate Majority Leader is hopeful there can be a path forward soon on a congressional redistricting map. Columbia Republican Senator Caleb Rowden says we could see a new bill in either the Missouri Senate or the House to create a new vehicle to move forward.
The Senate had a bill. The House bill was the one that came over. The Senate had a bill as well, and so we could get access to that anytime and pick it up and pass it in the Senate, send it over to the House. Obviously, they'd be able to amend it and kind of make the changes that they want to make to be able to get it back out. So we're looking at potentially doing that.
Now, two of the biggest complaints of Missouri House members in both parties is that the Senate map splits Columbia and Boone County, as well as southwest Missouri's Marshfield. Missouri is still the only state in the nation that has not approved a new congressional map at this point. A southwest Missouri congressman who is seeking the GOP U.S. Senate nomination says that if it comes down to money, he will lose. Congressman Billy Long of Springfield tells 93.9 The Eagle he's campaigning across the state at every Lincoln Day event he can attend. And his constituents, he says, in the Ozarks are pleased with his performance on Capitol Hill.
I've got the most Republican primary voters of any congressional district. I got the highest raw vote total I'd ever received last November of 2020, and the highest percentage I'd ever received.
Congressman Long's heavily Republican district includes Branson and Joplin. He received 69% of the vote in 2020 to beat Democrat Teresa Montesi. Friday's Boone County Lincoln Days in Columbia also drew Congresswoman Vicky Hartzler, St. Louis Attorney Mark McCloskey, and Kansas City's Dave Sims. Look for Columbia School Board to approve a resolution tonight authorizing financing for the Boone County Nature School construction project. That is on the agenda tonight. Also on the agenda, the oath of office will be given to Suzette Waters and Blake Willoughby. They won re-election last week, or won election to a 3-year term. Willoughby was re-elected. Waters, this will be her first term. Coming up tonight, the CPS Superintendent, Dr. Brian Yearwood, will also recognize the outgoing Board Vice President, Dr. Della Streety-Wilhoit. In Columbia, State Farm Parkway could soon have a name change to Veterans United Parkway. That's according to our Inside Columbia Zimmer publication, Inside Columbia Magazine. They report that VU is currently in the process of applying to change the names of State Farm Parkway in East Southampton from the roundabout to South Providence. 93.9 The Eagle News is brought to you this hour by Air Serv Heating and Air Conditioning, ensuring the air in which you live and breathe is comfortable and clean. airserv.com. 93.9 The Eagle News Time, 6:07. Turning our attention right now to sports, and we'll begin with Sunday's game. Not a good day for the Kansas City Royals as they fall to the Cleveland Guardians by a score of 17-3. Royals and the Guardians wrapping up their series over at the K coming up today. The Royals just rocked in that loss. 17 runs, including 10 in the first 2 innings. They gave up 22 hits in that game. Not a good performance at all. Hopefully they can turn that around. That'll be an afternoon game today at Kauffman Stadium. Pirates beat the Cardinals Sunday at Busch Stadium 9-4. The Pirates with 9 hits in 3 innings. They spoil the debut of pitcher Steven Matz in a Cardinal uniform. He's a left-hander. St. Louis wrapping up its 4-game series with Pittsburgh today over at Busch. Businessman special. First pitch is set for 1:15. 93.9 The Eagle. Tom Ackerman will have your pregame coverage today right here on 93.9 The Eagle. Our sports is brought to you this hour by Witt Print Shop, where your printed products are so much more than ink and paper. 93.9 The Eagle News Time, 6:08. All right, John, thank you. Our weather is brought to you by Steve's Pest Control. Steve's Pest Control has peace of mind. Traffic check with MidmoHires.com. Local companies are looking for local people. MidmoHires.com to find a job or to post your job opening today. The roads right now are pretty quiet right now. And again, no severe weather threat in our immediate listening area today. That's the good news. Look for some traffic issues. Nothing major, but you will see some delays today up and down 63, basically all the way from Paris Road to the Callaway County line, 63 between Columbia and Jeff City. That major project is starting today. 30,000 cars use that road. $15 million project will start at 8:30 this morning. More team coverage in less than 30 minutes. Breaking news immediately. I'm Brian Hauswirth, 93.9 The Eagle.
Make him the face of the Republican Party. Talk about Marjorie Taylor Greene, Lauren Boebert, Madison Cawthorn. Say this party is crazy town. It's Trumpist. Trump is a threat to our democracy. Try to make Democratic base voters scared again. Make Democratic base voters scared again.
Make Democratic-based voters scared again. That is NBC News analyst John Hellman saying, here's what we need to do to win. And this is, I think that's a huge deal because what do we always say? Especially these national news outlets, CNN, MSNBC, USA Today, take your pick of most print editions of news. They try to scare people. This is a news analyst on MSNBC saying, here's what Democrats need to do so we don't have a red wave in November in the midterms. We need to scare Democrat voters. Want to get more onto messaging because that was a big thing that happened this past Friday night at the Boone County Lincoln Days event. State Senator Caleb Rowden ended his remarks with, in effect, a message on messaging. And I like it because it's one of the big things, at least that I think we're big here on the show, is how do we message? As a matter of fact, State Senator Caleb Rowden is going to be joining us more at 8:10. I do want to look more at this messaging, the messaging from both sides. But first, I want to get back to our local election. Third Ward race, Carl Scala and Roy Lovelady, dead heat. 1,102 votes. So Friday, a bunch of us, and I know newsrooms all across mid-Missouri sitting around. Brian Hauswirth was at his desk. Check, waiting for those military votes to come in and to the city because we were waiting for the military ballots to come in. And then we've got some other things we're doing. And we sat and we waited for the military votes. And we waited and we waited and...
Yeah, and nothing really comes in. Yeah. And here's the thing: I wasn't. It was important, but still, they were going to be doing a certification, then looking at and to make sure everything was okay in an audit. So even if had some ballots came in, unless they were, a lopsided margin, it still could be close. But bottom line, we still have a tie, Branden. We still have a tie, and the certification process will essentially start at 8 o'clock this morning. Brianna Lennon has outlined this on Twitter. It's 8 o'clock and people can go. They have bipartisan judges, and they're going to adjudicate the provisional ballots. They're going to do that. They'll adjudicate any write-in votes.
Okay, explain it to me like I'm 2 years old.
Well, that's just it. I mean, there are no write-in votes. The write-in votes aren't going to really count, but she's saying, I guess that's because of the process, because any write-in votes are for other candidates, I would think. Who else would they be? And I think the third one is probably the most important. They'll conduct an audit of ballots from 5% of precincts. Basically, 3 randomly selected polling places will be hand-counted and compared to the unofficial results.
And we, the public, can go?
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. And again, I'm not a lawyer, Stephanie. That part is a little confusing to me about the 3. So what happens if they... what are they looking for there? I'm a little unclear on that. Because you're totally picking random. I still think we have a legitimate shot at a tie.
At another tie following.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Absolutely.
I think so, too. I think in the random sampling, they're just trying to confirm the numbers are the numbers. And I think if there's any discrepancy, then there'd probably be a call for, some type of full recount. Do we have any idea of, from the past, generally we had huge turnout this April. We generally don't have that amount of turnout. Do we know, how many military ballots Boone County is expecting to be returned?
I have not heard that, and I have not specifically asked that because we've really focused on this particular race and that's a question we could ask Brianna, but it wouldn't really apply to any other race. The only other one it could potentially apply for is we have a trustees race in McBain that's also tied, and that was tied at 2-2, by the way. They don't have a winner yet,
So I'm wondering what happens. So let's say it's after all this, it's still tied. Apparently state statute says the city can call a special election. In other words, it's like we're playing second grade kickball. Do-over, and we vote again unless the candidates decide to draw names out of a hat. And I'm wondering if you're the incumbent.
I don't expect that, by the way.
If you're an incumbent and you're in a tie vote, Stephanie, for the city council in Ashland, you're tied. Do you say, we'll draw a name out of a hat, flip a coin, or I want another election? What do you do as a politician?
Me personally?
Yeah, what do you do?
Oh, gosh.
I know, because...
It's a very important race.
Yeah.
It'd be kind of embarrassing if you kind of lost twice, right? That's and I think too, for me, as a conservative, as someone who, doesn't like government, it would expend more funds to have another election, to have a special election. So to know, I didn't do my job, I didn't turn people out to vote for me, then to force the government to spend more money because I couldn't convince enough people to vote for me, that part I struggle with, even if I really did want to win. And I think that's why I was so happy when I moved to Southern Boone and they had a tie, and it was in the school board race. And they said, hey, we're just going to draw. And I said, that's the kind of community I want, to live in, that we're not worried about our ego or whatever. We're just worried about moving on, transitioning, and not spending money that we don't need to spend.
And to challenge what you just said, and I totally respect what you're saying, but by the same token, the special election would be in August. It wouldn't be it wouldn't be, but I see what you're saying. It would be, but then we're going to have months where we don't know who's going to really represent the ward. But under the law, Scala would still be the council person under this particular proposal.
I still
Stephanie's point's well taken, though.
Arm wrestling is how we settle it. Seriously, maybe put it on the TV. Can you imagine the ratings on ABC 17? We're watching to see Carl and Roy Lovelady arm wrestle.
Usually your solution to things like this is a push-up contest.
Oh.
And I'm wondering, too, Carl Scala, because as you don't want to lose twice, Carl Scala, the 12-year incumbent who is very arrogant in the way he talks to people, he wants you to know how smart he is, my opinion. Can you imagine somebody like that, in effect, losing? You're supposed to win. You're the incumbent. You're the 12-year incumbent. You are part of the problem, actually. But to lose twice to Roy Lovelady, in my opinion, would be spectacular. This is fun. Fox News, the mothership should be on this one. So Friday night, Boone County Lincoln Days. It was about messaging to an extent. Caleb Rowden last year, he gave the final speech, Boone County Lincoln Days, and what he talked about was foretelling. His big topic last year, turns out he was right.
Education.
This past Friday, I think one of the key things he said, he's talking in effect about messaging. And that was one of the things that, at least I'm big here on the show, because I think, we've got a bunch of people that voted for Biden, incredibly regretful, and not just regretful Democrat Biden voters. I'm talking about regretful independent voters, people that voted for Biden, and they're like, holy crap, everything the smart people said was going to happen if we elected this guy president is now happening. I think the part that's shocking people is how quickly we're a year into his presidency, and it is bad. It's bad, and it's bad. There's no other way to describe it. Caleb Rowden talking about messaging. As a matter of fact, I thought his speech was so moving. I've invited him to be on the show this morning here at 8:10. I think some of the highlights, we had media there that had never been there before. Kansas City Star was there. Missouri Independent picked up the story on it. NPR out of Kansas City picked up the same story that the Independent had. Hannah, 21-year-old college grad, who's grateful to Biden right now on that college loan thing.
Only on the college loan thing. Let's just throw that out there. I got accused of being a Biden supporter last week, and it kind of hurt my feelings.
I think, didn't Trump press pause first? Biden just copied off of Trump. I think that's right.
Because any successes that Biden has had
was based on Trump policy.
Anything Trump has done. Those are the few successes that Biden has had, is what Trump has done. In your mind, any big takeaways?
One of the more amusing points of the night was when you invited Senate candidate Eric Greitens up to speak, because he was an invited speaker. And not only was he not there, but the crowd giggled. There was a very quiet, he's not here from the crowd. I thought that was really interesting.
So when I got that quiet, I had to ask again, is Eric Greitens here? Because
Bueller?
That's what it was like. Because I wanted to be fair, because we were very fair. Any of the intros for any of the candidates and office holders, it was strictly language from their website. So we weren't writing it, we weren't embellishing anything, so we were to the T. And it said in each spot where we were expecting maybe Eric Schmidt, who, by the way, also was not there, and the other office people, other people seeking some of the offices, whether it be locally, statewide, what have you, we wanted to make sure we called for them unless we got a confirmation. That was the other thing. We got confirmation from some folks that will not be there. But in fairness, we opened it up saying, hey, are you here? Are you here? So I asked more than once.
And nothing. You just got a couple giggles from the crowd.
And I wasn't even in the state, and I open up my Twitter, and I see other people reporting on Boone County Lincoln Days MCS for...
You got named this time. You weren't just a local radio host.
Didn't even get that. Didn't even get the call letters or anything.
I said, hey, guys, what's going on over there in Missouri?
Because Stephanie's out of town in Nashville hanging out with the Prime Minister from Japan, probably. So she wasn't here. We're glad to have you back. Excited to hear what you did this weekend.
Something else I took away from the Boone County Lincoln Days, Anthony Lupo, who's a friend of the show and one of the organizers of the event, to keep the speakers limited to 5 minutes, he had this really cool red, yellow, and green card system. And I think I'm going to adopt it here in the studio.
I like the idea. So messaging. And really, I think one of the big things was, and we talked about things like General Todd Walters, NATO Supreme Allied Commander for Europe. I think it was last week, 2 weeks ago. He was asked in front of the Armed Services Committee, why do you think Putin invaded Ukraine now? He says it was because of the way Joe Biden handled Afghanistan. We talked about the story 57 days into his presidency. China sitting across the table from the United States of America, and they said to our face, you do not come at us from a position of power. Those are the stories that I think as conservatives we need to tell to all of these regretful Biden voters and say, see, here's what's going on, and we do it nicely, and we don't have to go to Twitter and say
Opinions on social issues. We throw those around too. Wake Up Columbia. 93.9 The Eagle.
Bad people who want to get guns for bad purposes realize this is the easiest way to get a gun. It's even easier than going on a street corner and paying someone some money for a gun.
Chuck Schumer, guns. The guns are bad. It's not the people, it's the guns. Ghost guns. That gets us into today's Daily DC Rundown with Stephanie Bell on 93.9 The Eagle.
Today, the Biden administration is announcing a finalized version of its ghost gun rule, these kind of like DIY guns you can build at home. When he first won the presidency, there were like 3 gun things he was going to do. I think this is the first one that's really been finalized, but that's expected to be announced today via rule. Of course, any like serious action on guns would have to go through Congress, but this is, I'm sure the lawyers will be taking a look at this provision.
Well, it was interesting. We set a timer last week following the nightclub shooting in Oakland last week. Set a timer. How long is it going to be before you hear? Because whenever there's a shooting, it's the guns. It's the guns. I couldn't even get the button pushed on that timer for Joe Biden. Gun control, gun control. Interesting thing about one of the at least 2 main accused shooters released from prison after serving less than half of a 10-year sentence for beating up his girlfriend and doing some other. He's out on the streets. And the sheriff in Sacramento is saying, you know what caused this? It wasn't guns. It was liberal, progressive policies on letting people like him out of prison early. That's what it was.
And we've seen that time and time again. Well, in conjunction with the issuance of the ghost gun rule, Biden is announcing a new nominee for the ATF, Steve Dettelbach, and that position really hasn't had a confirmed nominee. I think since 2006, only one nominee has been confirmed. Biden had previously nominated somebody else, ran into some resistance, so now he has this new nominee out. We'll see. He hasn't had very much luck at all with confirmations across the board.
He needs to nominate a black woman for the position.
The Trump endorsement is also being put to the test here shortly. Apparently, he's endorsed officially Dr. Oz in Pennsylvania's Republican Senate primary. He also endorsed a relatively unknown candidate in North Carolina's Senate race, Ted Budd. And so all eyes are watching on what that Trump endorsement means. And I think, in Missouri, we still don't have a Trump endorsement. So I think the candidates are thinking, I think it's going to help me, but I'm watching.
Billy Long did mention Friday night about the endorsement, not endorsement from Trump.
Bless his heart.
I know. Coming up here on 93.9 The Eagle, how's it looking in what eventually would likely be a race between Kehoe and Ashcroft for the governor of Missouri? And we meet the new mayor of Ashland coming up at 6:35 here on 93.9 The Eagle. I have your ABC 17 storm track forecast. Showers likely today, high 52, some clouds overnight, 47. Tomorrow, partly sunny, high 83 degrees. Wednesday, showers, thunderstorms. We won't even hit 70. Right now it's 50. With warmer weather, pests get very active. And there's 2 types of structures here in mid-Missouri, ones that already have pests and those that will have pests. Steve's 5-star service and pest prevention will protect you 24/7. Go to stevespestcontrol.com.
Fox News, I'm Lillian Wu. An 8-mile-long Russian convoy suspected to be heading for part of eastern Ukraine. This is the Ukrainian president presses for help from the international community.
President Zelensky spoke to South Korea's National Assembly and said that Mariupol is, quote, destroyed and tens of thousands are dead.
Fox's Griff Jenkins in Lviv.
It comes as Russia is intensifying its missile strikes, hitting the northeastern city of Kharkiv, the south city of Mykolaiv, and the strategically located city of Dnipro, which serves as a hub for Ukrainian forces.
And travelers could find fewer airline seats this summer as carriers add staff and cut flights, attempting to make the experience a smoother one for flyers. JetBlue, for instance, says it's hired more than 3,000 new crew members and will reduce flights up to 10% by May. America's listening to Fox News.
And now award-winning local news coverage with Brian Hauswirth on 93.9 The Eagle.
93.9 The Eagle News Time with Robinson's Cleaners. Robinson saves you time. It is 6:31. We do have some light rain falling here in mid-Missouri. We're expecting a high today of around 52 degrees, and we're going to see rain. No severe threat today. More on the weather throughout the morning right here on 93.9 The Eagle. Good morning, everyone. Here's some of the stories we are working on for you. In this 6 o'clock hour, Boone County's clerk says certification will begin this morning in about 90 minutes at our office in Tuesday's Columbia 3rd Ward Council tie. Certification is open to the public. It's done by bipartisan election judges. They'll be adjudicating provisional ballots this morning. Incumbent Carl Scala and challenger Roy Lovelady finished in a tie with 1,102 votes each. Again, that starts this morning at 8. It is open to the public. Meantime, a trucker charged with involuntary manslaughter for the December I-70 death of a Boone County Fire District Assistant Chief has been released from the county jail after posting a bond. Online court record shows Kevin Brunson of Kansas City. He's been released on his own recognizance. Brunson, you'll recall, made his initial court appearance in late March, and he pleaded not guilty. He appeared to have fallen asleep at that hearing, and we have learned that he had spent some time in the hospital after that. That is in online court records. His next court appearance is scheduled for May the 2nd. Columbia police need your help in solving a weekend shooting on Orchard Lane. One person suffering life-threatening injuries. And Senate Majority Leader Caleb Rowden of Columbia tells the Eagle House and Senate leadership met last week regarding a congressional map.
You know, you may see a new bill either come from the Senate over to the House or vice versa, just to create another vehicle to try to do something. Going to conferences kind of questionable at this point.
News is brought to you this hour by MidAmericaMortgage.us, and apply now for a loan on your dream home. 93.9 The Eagle News Time, 6:33. Turning our attention now to sports. The Pittsburgh Pirates beating the Cardinals yesterday over at Busch Stadium. 9-4 was the final score there in that game. The Pirates with 9 hits in 3 innings to spoil the debut of pitcher Steven Matz in a Cardinal uniform. St. Louis wrapping up its 4-game series with Pittsburgh today over at Busch. You'll hear it live right here on the Eagle. First pitch is set for 1:15. The Royals hammered yesterday by the Cleveland Guardians. Tough day yesterday for them. 22 runs in that game. That's amazing. The Royals and the Guardians again today at 1:10. Now the Cardinals and the Royals will open up a series that will start tomorrow night at Busch. We, of course, will carry the game from the Cardinals Baseball Network tomorrow night. 6:45 as that series will be getting underway in St. Louis. Our sports is brought to you this hour by the Better Business Bureau. It's where businesses can join and sign up for accreditation. Start online, bbb.org. 93.9 The Eagle News Time is 6:34. Traffic Check is presented by MidmoHires.com. Local companies are looking for local people. MidmoHires.com to find a job or post your job opening today. The mayor-elect of Ashland, by the way, will join us right after this newscast live on the air. You're going to see a lot of traffic work today going on across the 63 corridor, including in the Ashland area. $15 million project. Basically, they'll start at Paris Road, go all the way down to the Callaway County line. Ashland will get a big portion of that work, and that'll be getting underway this morning at about 8:30, weather permitting. No other traffic issues to report right now. More team coverage in less than 30 minutes, and we have breaking news immediately. I'm Brian Hauswirth, 93.9 The Eagle.
Hello, everyone. I love you all. I know you're having a great time at the Kid Rock concert tonight. Quite frankly, he's amazing. All of you in attendance are the true backbone of our great country. Hardworking, God-fearing, rock and roll patriots. Bob is truly one of the greatest entertainers of our time. Not the best golfer by any means. His golf game could use a little work. But a great, great entertainer, and that's why you're there. Let's all continue to love one another, fight for our God-given freedoms, and most of all, let's make America rock again.
Donald Trump video introduction prior to a Kid Rock concert. I like that. Let's make America rock again. The only concert I've ever paid to see, Kid Rock, 3 times in 1 year. And he's coming to St. Louis, and you can have tickets, some as much as $2,000 for the ticket in St. Louis. If that's not quite your cup of tea, they're as low as $1,065, and there are actually some other tickets that I think are still available for his concert coming up this summer. This is Wake Up Columbia. Stephanie Bell, welcome back. Where were you?
Thanks.
Hanging out with another prime minister from Greece, Turkey, Japan, rubbing elbows with Tom Cotton.
No, I was hanging out with like all of the super libertarians, which was really fun, actually. I was at Reason Weekend, so a lot of people might be familiar with Reason Magazine, Reason.org. They, are free markets, free minds. And so all of their writers, and I listened to some of their podcasts, I got to meet them, which was really exciting. I think they write some really interesting and thoughtful pieces. And then, they talked about what typical like libertarians talk about. So I heard a nice speech on capitalism that as an Elon Musk fangirl, they talked about Elon Musk a bit. So that was really exciting.
And some new Elon Musk stuff this morning. A lot of folks excited that he's buying this huge stake in Twitter, was going to be board of directors because Elon Musk is all about the free speech and you can say what you want. Like libertarians, listen, I do what I want as long as I don't hurt other people and affect other people. I'm good. And Elon Musk, I think, has a lot of that mindset. So a lot of folks that utilize Twitter were really excited for this.
Yeah, but I think he's not going to take the board seat.
Apparently, yeah, he's not going to be on the board, and so that's got folks just as quickly as they got all excited.
Yeah, it didn't. Yeah, I mean, I think people are excited, and I don't think him not taking a board seat doesn't mean that he still won't like exert some type of influence over Twitter. So I was really excited too because there was a panel, they did talk a little bit about drug legalization, like psychedelics, and I was like, oh my gosh, we had just talked about that on the show. There's a bill in Missouri pending on some psychedelic legalization.
Numerous medical studies have showed there's some mental health benefits to leveraging psychedelics when it comes to treating folks with mental health issues. By the way, we have a unique opportunity to meet the mayor-elect of Boone County's second or third largest town. I don't know if we've ever...
You're going to step in that again?
Second.
Well, you can GTS it right now, and I'm getting two different answers. But on Boone County's second or third largest town, he's standing by. I also want to look at this potential gubernatorial race in Missouri. Secretary of State Jay Ashcroft, who joined us Friday night at the Boone County Lincoln Days, and Lieutenant Governor Mike Kehoe. But first, want to introduce Mr. Brian Hauswirth here on the show. And this thing in the third ward, this is kind of exciting.
It is. It's unique. I've never seen it happen before. As Stephanie has correctly pointed out, we've had ties in Ashland races before. And as I mentioned, we do have the McBain race, and it's worth mentioning because people in McBain for a trustee, but that one's not getting nearly as much attention. It was 2-2 small. This is a ward. It's a ward race that, Branden, you've had Lovelady on. I remember he was talking about the resources and the crime up in that area. Just this weekend, we had a shooting in broad daylight right in that area where we've had a number of areas before. So a lot of very important things, and it would be good to get that resolved so we know who's going to be on the council. But it's going to start today at 8 o'clock, and quite frankly, this could drag on.
And that's those things. And by the way, the public can watch this. Brian's going to have more details on how you can get involved in this today. If it's something you want to do, he'll do that for you at 7 o'clock here on 93.9 The Eagle. Hannah, the producer, is here. I think one of the other big takeaways, Hannah and I got to attend the Boone County Lincoln Days Friday night, and according to the Missouri Independent, 150 people is how the Missouri Independent label it, but I guess that's been one of the biggest crowds in quite some time.
Yeah, the organizers of the event said that they were kind of amazed at how many tickets they sold in advance.
And Hannah was just like, yeah, whatever. We weren't surprised. She was not at all. Hannah is, she is too good to be arrogant. She would never be arrogant like that.
Oh, boy.
My name is Branden Rathert. If there is something that we can do for you, 874-9390, 874-9390. All right, Stephanie, you've been GTSing population counts on Ashland compared to Centralia.
I already know. Ashland is the second largest community in Boone County.
Hannah, have you been doing the same? Checking Hannah, the Centralia native, and Stephanie Bell, who lives in Ashland, serves on the city council there. Because I'm looking at two different things. One of the things that I'm showing says Centralia, 4,200, Ashland, 4,100.
I haven't been looking just because it's more fun to irritate Stephanie about it than to know the true answer.
Let's bring in Mayor-elect of Ashland, the second or third largest town in the county of Boone. Mayor-elect Slinker, welcome into the show. So what is it that you want to do when you get sworn in? What are the first couple of things that you might want to do, sir? Hello? Hello? Okay, remarkably, nothing is wrong on my end. That's a first. Hello, Mr. Slinker?
Hello?
Hello?
You there?
Yeah, we're here. You there?
Yes, sir.
All right. We wanted to ask you, what is it, when you get sworn in, what do you think the first top three things on your to-do list are?
The top three things will be, of course, like I said on my campaign race, helping balance the budget, bringing in new businesses to help our tax rate, and then also look at our streets and our infrastructure issues and work with our budget to make sure we have enough money in our budget to take care of those problems and get those fixed.
All right. Unfortunately, there's a good number of people in Ashland and State Rep Sarah Walsh, a lot of folks who over the years have worked really hard to really grow Ashland, whether it's housing, jobs, things like that. What is it that made you want to run for mayor of Ashland in the first place?
The people. I enjoy every one of our people that live in Ashland. I'm a community. I live there. I've been there for over 10 years. I enjoy embracing with all the new businesses. I enjoy embracing with the people when they come to our events. We are the second largest in the Boone County, so yeah, the people.
All right, so, the mayor-elect said it's second largest. I got to go with what he's saying.
Doris, you mentioned the budget issues, and one thing I think that the city put on the ballot was the use tax. Now it passed in Boone County, but it failed in Ashland. Now I think it actually failed by less than it failed several years ago. But that and that would have brought in some extra revenue for the city. What's your reaction to that vote, and then how will that affect budgeting going forward?
Well, of course it's going to affect the budget. It's going to take about $25,000. We anticipated that tax to raise about $25,000 extra revenue for our city. With it not passing, I feel like it wasn't brought forth to the public correctly. Maybe lack of education. Maybe we could have done a better job as far as teaching the people what it's for.
Mayor-elect, we appreciate you joining us live on the program. I want to follow up. There was an interview Saturday here on 93.9 The Eagle. I don't know if you had a chance to listen to it, but Fred Perry had two of the top executives on from Rankin Tech, and the whole show was about Rankin Tech, but specifically it was about Ashland and the school system there in Ashland. And basically the message of the two executives is that Rankin didn't choose Ashland, Ashland chose Rankin. One thing I'm unclear about from that interview is I never did get an amount of the $3 million that the community was trying to raise. The last time I heard was $2.3 million. I didn't hear a final number given on that. Do you know where they're at right now in terms of trying to finish that? Because they're very close to starting construction, and it would be out near the Salter Landscaping. That's where they're going to build it out there off of 63.
Yes. I did not get a chance to review the podcast. Last report I saw, it was about 2.4, but they have about 600,000 coming in donations and stuff like that. So I think they're on track to make it happen.
All right. Mayor-elect of Ashland, Dorise Slinker, anything else that you would like to add before we let you go?
No, sir. Thank you.
All right. Well, we look forward to working with you in the future here on Wake Up Columbia on 93.9 The Eagle. So now we move up to the 2024 Missouri gubernatorial race. Jay Ashcroft, he hasn't made it official, but he also hasn't made it a secret, I think, and that he will very likely run. Lieutenant Governor Mike Keogh, strong roots in the Jefferson City area besides his time as an office holder. Some polling. Now, for what polls are worth, but I do think they're always kind of interesting to look at. And this poll, I will tell you, was paid for by Ashcroft's PAC. It was conducted by Public Opinion Strategies last month, and it gives Ashcroft, where is he in this compared to Mike Kehoe? We will have that coming up at 6:51 here on 93.9 The Eagle and 93.9theeagle.com, where you can listen live. Also, a little bit later this morning, Missouri State Teachers Association did an educator wellness survey. What are teachers thinking? What about the number of teachers that have thought about leaving? We're going to get into that coming up at 7:10 this morning here on 93.9 The Eagle and 93.9theeagle.com. Almost like 80 degrees, and you know what bummed me out? I see these people mowing their yards and stuff. Like, man, it's a beautiful day. It's Sunday. Walk the parks that we have 3 revenue streams for. Do something. Get outside. Go fishing. And I thought, man, if only these people had Salter Lawn Service. And I get it. Some people, they like to work on their own yards. But when you get a day like yesterday, almost 80 degrees in April, I certainly don't want to be doing yard work, and I certainly don't want to be doing it in July and August when it's 98 degrees with a heat index of 107. My free time is worth it. My free time, I would think, whether you want more free time with the family, you call Salter Lawn Service. They'll put you on a regular plan, like once a week, come by, make your yard look good. You'll never even know they were there. And if you do like doing your own stuff, you know, they do maintenance on anything that has a small engine, really. When was the last time you had the blades sharpened on your little push mower? Yeah, things like that. They do all of the maintenance. That's why we say Salter, one call, does it all.
the talk show for awesome folks like you. Wake Up Columbia, 93.9 The Eagle.
Wearing masks because it feels like a badge of, I'm a progressive, even though a lot of those masks, particularly with Omicron, which is so contagious, are doing very little to protect people. But don't think that these mask mandates where you wear some cloth mask into a restaurant and then you take it off so you can eat is doing anything.
From the New York Times, that's Dave Leonhardt on Bill Maher over the weekend on HBO saying, this stuff, again, it's BS. And he tells you, I am a progressive. He works for the New York Times. So we're making an informed opinion about this guy. Some people call it stereotyping. I call it's an informed opinion. He's saying, this mask stuff is absolutely ridiculous. Yesterday in Los Angeles, I didn't know this was a thing. Yesterday, there were rallies to end mask mandates in Los Angeles. So grateful that we are not in California. John Hopkins study says all of these cities, by the way, that did the mandates and locked businesses down, and I would assume that would include Columbia. People say, and what coronavirus did to Columbia? Coronavirus did not do anything to Columbia. Let's be really clear. It was our servants, elected and appointed servants, who did what they did to Columbia. It was not coronavirus. Got another complaint on the show Friday night. I almost think it's time to do a Festivus show. Every year here on Wake Up Columbia, we do a Festivus show where the members of the show, we get to come clean about, hey, I got this beef with you, and it's something we stole from Seinfeld.
Christmas in July is the thing. Maybe we could save up and do Festivus in July.
Because I keep getting more complaints when I talk to people. The complaint the other day,
weird.
People mad at Stephanie and Hannah because I'll say, hey, we're going to do this coming up at 6:50, and then I don't do it, and they're mad that you guys aren't reminding me. But I had your backs. I stuck up for the both of you.
Now, I met that gentleman Friday night, and he had no idea what you were talking about.
Ooh.
And then somebody got mad. They said, Branden, whenever you start getting really passionate, start yelling about stuff, then all of a sudden you'll stop, and then you start talking really low. And she says, I can't hear you. I said, I know. I'm trying to settle down because I've got high blood pressure, and I don't want to swear on the radio. I don't want to put the
Hannah doesn't want you to do that either.
No.
That happened once.
Okay, so kind of as promised, the numbers for Jay Ashcroft and Key. I'm working on it, I swear to God. Jay Ashcroft, Secretary of State, who also spoke at Friday night's Boone County Lincoln Days, coming up 7:10. Lines, I have to remember. So I MC this event Friday night, and I go into it almost like it's a roast. You've got all these politicians in the room.
Which is not the way to approach it.
So I misunderstood. I get up there, and I've got like pages of roast jokes, and right before I go on, I'm saying, hey, this is not a roast. I had to change everything I was doing. Some of the lines that I didn't use at Friday night's event coming up at 7:10. I think there were two lines, and one of them I did end up using, even though it wasn't a line. The other line I didn't use. We'll have that at 7:10. But right now, so we look at the race between, Mike Kehoe, Lieutenant Governor, he has said, yes, I am running. Jay Ashcroft, I think everybody knows, even though he hasn't made it official. So polling now, again, this was done by Jay Ashcroft's PAC. It was conducted by Public Opinion Strategies last month. Right now, that poll here in April of 2022 gives Ashcroft a 54-19 lead. But I think what is really more telling, name recognition. And a lot of that is because of Jay Ashcroft's service to Missouri. And also, I got to say, it's because of his father. On the name recognition issue, to take absolutely, positively nothing away from the fine work and the fine service to the folks in Missouri that Jay Ashcroft has done over the years. But it's his dad. By comparison, so pretty much 93% of Republican voters, 93% have heard of Jay Ashcroft. 49% of voters have heard of Mike Kehoe. Just 1 in 5 have a favorable impression of him. 20% favorable, 4% unfavorable. That's Missouri politics. By the way, closer to home tonight, Columbia Public School Board meets. They're going to be swearing in again. Blake Willoughby, the incumbent who won re-election last week, Suzette Waters, will be sworn on to the board. One of the things that they are going to be considering tonight, looking for money for a gender-affirming closet. at one of the schools. And I guess this is a closet, and you want to show up to school, and this day you want to be a chick, but, oh, bummer, you wore dude clothes. You can go and change, I guess, and put on chick clothes. Vice versa. If you go to school that day and you're thinking you're a female and all of a sudden go, I want to identify as a dude, somebody is going to pay for you to be able to change clothes. That's one of the things that they are covering tonight at the Columbia City Public Council. Some of the things coming up this morning, back to our Boone County Lincoln Days event on Friday. By the way, and I'll say this continues to reaffirm, we have a solid lineup of GOP senators, Senate candidates. We really do. I mean, most of them, you can't go wrong. Most of them. You just couldn't go wrong. And I'll tell you, the one person that I have seen at all of these events, and I'm not saying that not everybody else has done it, Mark McCloskey.
Truly.
He goes to everything.
He's everywhere. I think the first time I saw him in person might have been the State Fair last year, and he's been at every event plus more than I've been at. Mark
McCloskey, of course, his claim to fame, he was protecting his home from violent BLM protesters, and the picture of him and his wife, Patty, on the front page of national news outlets kind of made him famous. But he's got that conservative mindset. Not a bad choice either. Teacher surveys from the Missouri State Teachers Association. You got to hear this. We're going to do that for you coming up at 7:10.
Targeting homemade guns. I'm Chris Foster. Fox News. President Biden has an announcement today about gun regulation at the White House. More live from Fox's Tanya J. Powers.
Chris, President Biden will give remarks in the Rose Garden alongside Deputy Attorney General Lisa Monaco, and he's expected to outline new steps to make it harder for people to make and get so-called ghost guns. Those are weapons that can be privately made from kits, are unregulated and untraceable. He's also expected to name a new nominee to lead the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms, Steve Dettelbach, a longtime prosecutor with the Department of Justice. Dettelbach was confirmed as the U.S. Attorney for the Northern District of Ohio in 2009. Chris.
Tanya, Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky says tens of thousands of people have been killed in the city of Mariupol during the Russian military bombardment and siege. He said that to South Korea's parliament today, asking for more support against Russia. He tells CBS 60 Minutes there's evidence of Russian war crimes, including captured pilots with maps of civilian targets and admissions from prisoners and intercepted communications about theft, kidnapping, and murder.
Look, I think everyone who made a decision, who issued an order, who fulfilled an order, everyone who is relevant to this, I believe they are guilty.
The White House again says President Biden has no plans to go to Ukraine and that he's coordinating U.S. and international response from the White House. The British Prime Minister Boris Johnson was in Ukraine's capital, Kyiv, on Saturday. A county prosecutor in Texas is asking a judge to drop a murder charge against a woman over a self-induced abortion, calling her case not a criminal matter based on the facts and state law. We don't know if the woman had an abortion herself or helped someone with it. Starr County DA Gosha Allen Ramirez says the sheriff's department did its duty in investigating the incident brought to their attention by a reporting hospital. Scotty Scheffler wins his first green jacket at this year's Masters tournament. He shot a 1-under par 71 yesterday to finish 10 under for the tournament. America's listening to Fox News.
Economists are warning that sanctions against Russia could cause unintended damage in America, triggering devastating inflation. As gas prices skyrocket, prices for everything could surge even higher, making the current 40-year record inflation look mild. Hi, this is Stephen K. Bannon, and I urge you to take immediate action to protect your savings by opening a physical gold IRA with my friends at Birch Gold. I'm a Birch Gold customer myself, and they have my highest recommendation. Just text the word PROTECT to 989898, and they'll send you a free info kit on how to get started. In my opinion, gold IRAs are one of the best ways to protect your savings no matter what happens in America or around the world. And the best company to work with is Birch Gold. So text the word PROTECT to 989898 to get everything you need to know about protecting your savings with gold.
93.9 The Eagle News Time with Robinson's Cleaners. Robinson's saves you time. It is 7:03 right now. We do have cloudy skies here in mid-Missouri. The good news is there is no severe weather threat today in mid-Missouri. It's 53 right now in Columbia, 51 degrees in Jefferson City. We'll talk more about the storms throughout the day today at the bottom of the hour specifically, but the only threat will be the very southern edge of our listening area. It's just outside of the area as well. Lebanon and Rolla Point South could have some severe storms today. Tomorrow and Wednesday, we could see severe weather. Good morning, everyone. Here's some of the stories that we are working on for you at this hour. You'll have an opportunity here in about an hour to watch certification efforts in Columbia's tied Third Ward Council race. Boone County Clerk Brianna Lennon says the certification will start this morning at 8. It is open to the public. They're going to start by adjudicating the provisional ballots. Again, that will start this morning at 8. Mr. Lovelady, the challenger, and the incumbent Carl Scala, each tying with 1,102 votes each. As of this morning, as they go into the certification, the two men are tied again at that number. A truck driver who is charged with the December deadly crash that killed the Boone County Fire District Assistant Chief Bryant Gladney has been released from jail on his own recognizance. 64-year-old Kevin Brunson is charged with involuntary manslaughter. That is a Class C felony. Online court records say Brunson was hospitalized in late March. That was after he made his initial court appearance via video March the 28th, and he pleaded not guilty. You'll recall that 93.9 The Eagle was in the courtroom the day of his arraignment, and he apparently fell asleep in court. We say that based on comments that jail staff made to the judge. The deadly collision happened on December the 22nd at the 135-mile marker just east of Columbia. Missouri State troopers say an ambulance and Gladney's vehicles had their emergency lights activated when they were struck by a tractor-trailer about 4:45 this morning. Patrol's crash report says Brunson's truck failed to slow. Columbia police say the victim, who was shot on Orchard Lane Saturday afternoon, suffering life-threatening injuries. CPD investigators say the incident happened about 4 o'clock in the 4600 block of Orchard. That is north of the busy Clark Lane Ballinger roundabout. It is near McKee Street Park. An Ozarks congressman who is seeking Missouri's GOP U.S. Senate nomination says his campaign is going well and he feels good about his team's ground game. Springfield Congressman Billy Long has been traveling around the state speaking at various Lincoln Day events. He was in Columbia Friday night and spoke to 93.9 The Eagle.
Now, if you listen to my opponents, they're all trying to crush me and tell me that I should get out and that I'm going to come in seventh in a six-way race. But that's exactly, Brian, what they told me the first time when I ran for Congress.
You'll recall that Long was an auctioneer and a longtime radio host at KWTO in Springfield when he ran for Congress in southwest Missouri in 2000. 2010. He beat 2 state senators and a sitting state representative in the primary that year. He is now in his 6th term on Capitol Hill. Missouri Senate Majority Leader is hopeful there can be a path forward soon on a new congressional redistricting map. Columbia Republican Senator Caleb Rowden says we could see a new bill in either the Missouri Senate or the House to create another vehicle to move forward.
The Senate had a bill. The House bill was the one that came over. The Senate had a bill as well, and so we could get access to that anytime and pick it up and pass it in the Senate, send it over to the House. Obviously, they'd be able to amend it and kind of make the changes that they want to make to be able to get it back out. So we're looking at potentially doing that.
That's Senator Caleb Rowden speaking to 93.9 The Eagle Friday night at the Lincoln Days event. Missouri is the only state in the nation that hasn't approved a new map. And look for Columbia School Board to approve a resolution tonight authorizing financing for the Boone County Nature School construction project. 93.9 The Eagle News is brought to you this hour by the Candy Factory. They fill your Easter baskets with tasty treats and delicious handmade chocolates. Find them online, thecandyfactoryonline.com. 93.9 The Eagle News Time, 7:07. Turning our attention now to sports. Tough day yesterday for the Kansas City Royals as they fall to the Guardians by a score of 17-3 at Kauffman Stadium. 22 hits for the Guardians. The Royals only 3 runs in 7 hits. They'll wrap up their series today at Kauffman Stadium in Kansas City. Pittsburgh Pirates beating the Cardinals Sunday at Busch Stadium. Final there was 9-4. Pirates with 9 hits, 3 innings, spoiling the debut of Steven Matz in a Cardinal uniform. St. Louis wrapping up its 4-game series with Pittsburgh today at Busch Stadium. It's a businessman special, 1:15 first pitch, 93.9 The Eagle. Tom Ackerman will have your pregame coverage coming up today. Sports is brought to you by Missouri Heart Center, comprehensive cardiovascular care in the heart of Missouri, moheartcenter.com. Our news time, 7:08. All right, John, thanks so much. John is filling in right now and maybe permanently for Kevin Schneider. That'll be up to the station, but doing a fine job. We'll miss Kevin as well, but happy to welcome John to the show. Weather is brought to you by Steve's Pest Control. Steve's Pest Control for peace of mind. Right now, 53 degrees. Traffic check with MidmoHires.com. Local companies are looking for local people. MidmoHires.com to find a job or post your job opening today. It is 7:09. Roads are pretty quiet here in mid-Missouri. Again, a reminder for those of you on Highway 63, 30,000 cars drive that route daily between Columbia and Jefferson City. All of you will be seeing work today and for the foreseeable future. It's a $15 million project. Bridge deck repair, all sorts of work will be going on. That'll start this morning, weather permitting. More team coverage in less than 30 minutes and breaking news immediately. I'm Brian Hauswirth, 93.9 The Eagle.
Make him the face of the Republican Party. Talk about Marjorie Taylor Greene, Lauren Boebert, Madison Cawthorn. Say this party is crazy town. It's Trumpist. Trump is a threat to our democracy. Try to make Democratic base voters scared again. Make Democratic base voters scared again.
That's stunning. That is NBC News analyst John Hellman on MSNBC saying what we've been saying for years, especially over the past 2 years. These national news outlets and the progressives, it's scaring people. They scare people. And that's the guy saying, we got to scare Democrat voters. We got to scare them. That's amazing you would say that because, we already knew this stuff. And we know a red wave is coming in 2022. We think.
No, we know.
We know. And by the way, everybody else is getting it, too, whether you're talking USA Today, whether you're talking MSNBC, CNN. As a matter of fact, Chuck Todd on MSNBC over the weekend, I thought, asked a very good question, and the answers that he is getting here, pretty pertinent too. But Chuck Todd's question is this it? This KBJ being confirmed last week, first black woman on the Supreme Court of the United States of America. Is this the last victory for a while?
Is this the last big thing they pass? Is this the last big thing this Congress accomplishes before November?
But the answer, they have some high hopes. Check this out.
We'll see. They are talking about a scaled-back reconciliation bill, but these are not formal negotiations that they're talking about. Then some quarters of the Democratic Party on the Hill are talking about just passing one thing, like prescription drugs, doing one more thing for the American public before the midterms.
So scaling back a little bit of this. In other words, not much.
Well, and they're saying last big thing. Is it the only big thing? I mean, other than like massive spending bills, as far as Joe Biden's priority list, it really, this is his only big thing, I think.
Well, and I like that messaging from the progressives. You heard it. You heard the guy say it. We got to scare Democrats. This past Friday night, Boone County Lincoln Day, State Senator Caleb, by the way, just an incredible lineup. Hartzler, Billy Long, Mark McCloskey, local candidates, Sarah Walsh, Taylor Burks, State Senator Rick Branden. My goodness, this race for Missouri State Auditor, between these two candidates, between Scott Fitzpatrick and the other guy,
David Gregory,
I cannot tell who's more handsome. Both of these guys, like, deadly good looks, man.
And young, and kind of came in a couple of years apart into the House. Scott Fitzpatrick was elected in 12 and David Gregory in 16. And heard from people at the event they were impressed by both. We'll see what happens. But David Gregory actually is going to have a pretty big hearing today on a bill at the Capitol that deals with the electric grid. And he's going to call some national folks to testify about that. But, yeah, that auditor position is huge because the Republicans have not held that seat since 2015 when Tom Schweik, he died that year. And then after that, Nicole Galloway was appointed, obviously has since been elected. But, yeah, it's been seven years now since the Republicans have held that seat.
Currently the only statewide seat that's held by a Democrat. Oh, and not only are the two gentlemen very good looking.
Here we go.
They were. I was like, because Scott Fitzpatrick is, and I'll tell you, if you're not watching on our YouTube channel, which you can do every morning, go to YouTube, watch 93.9 The Eagle. You'd see Stephanie Bell's face blushing a little. She's getting a little red and blushing whenever we talk about good-looking politicians.
Because you're just waiting for me to comment on their looks so that you can say something.
And they're both very talented. They both make fine auditors.
No, they're good looking. And I think, we've talked a little bit about that, I think more in recent times, how looks I think are more of a part of politics and how politicians do worry a lot about their looks. But yeah, and Brian brings up a good point. They're young. And so, they've got a lot of time ahead of them. So being elevated to something like a position of auditor puts them in the place to, be in Missouri politics for a really long time. David Gregory is a lawyer. We've heard Scott Fitzpatrick's story here, built a very successful company at a very young age. And it goes, it speaks to what we talk about in every race, not only with our gubernatorial race that's already heating up for 2024, but with the Senate race, what a deep bench Missouri Republicans have. And literally the Democrats, I guess there technically is someone running for auditor on the Democrat side.
Former state representative Alan Green, but I don't know how much money he's going to be able to raise.
And it took them like 6 months to even find someone.
Like, hey, what are you doing coming up 2024? Because we could certainly try to find some use for you elsewhere. And I thought it was great to see, number one, younger people at this event Friday night, to see news outlets from across the state of Missouri that were there, and younger candidates and younger people there. As a matter of fact, it was one of the things that we talked about. And I brought up was messaging to a different generation of conservatives, man. I try to read some of these books. I ain't smart like Stephanie, man. I can't digest some of this stuff. I'm like, if we want to bring people to the conservative movement, to the conservative side, or at least the libertarian independent, we got to make some of these things much simpler to digest. And we got to talk to people in normal terms. We can't win arguments. We can't go and debate just to prove to you that I'm right. I think, in my opinion, I think it'd be much better to say, see, here's how things work. We brought up the story of General Todd Walters, NATO's Supreme Allied Commander for Europe, last week, or maybe the week before, addressing the House Armed Services Committee Wednesday. He's asked the question, why did Putin decide to invade Ukraine now?
I think he felt like he had popular support of the citizens of Russia. I also felt like he was attempting to take advantage of fissures that could have appeared in NATO as a result of the post-Afghanistan environment.
Afghanistan pullout. And I don't just say this to say, we told you so, but...
but we told you so.
But we did. We told you so because... When that happened, remember, that was not long after China had said to America's face, she ain't coming at us from a position of strength anymore. And these are stories I think that we could tell some of these people that they're milling around the tent, or the younger folks, and explain it to them and not try to bang on the desk and, throw out a nasty tweet, sick burn, I got you, because it's not doing us any good.
Yeah, and I think when I went to Lincoln Days last year with Rowden, and I think his point, we were going to win on education, but more importantly, he was saying, look, we're going to win on issues when we can talk about why our policies matter and why they can be why they're better for people in their everyday lives. And I think, when we're talking about Afghanistan and our position on the world stage, I think that's one. And his point was with education. So I think, a lot of times with conservative talk shows or politicians, all you're doing, especially when you have a Democrat in the White House, all you're doing is bashing their policies. And we have to get away from just saying Joe Biden is a terrible president and what he's doing is wrong, but talk about, if we were in power, if there is a red wave in the midterms, and if ultimately we, take back the presidency, here's what Republicans can do, affirmatively, not defensively, but, here are our policies and here's why they make sense for you in your everyday lives, and how, hopefully we'd be in a much better position, I believe, if we had control.
Yeah, and to do that, I think the message, Caleb Rowden, he was saying, in effect, the same thing as he wrapped up the evening's event, saying, we can do this differently. As a matter of fact, he's going to be joining us at 8:10, and I do want to get into some of the results of this Missouri Educator Wellness Survey put on by the Missouri State Teachers Association, more specifically drilling down on some local numbers for one community. So I said at the thing Friday night, I had some lines. I misunderstood the assignment. I thought it was a roast. Friday night, thank God Hannah was there to remind me 2 minutes before, Branden, this is not a roast. Throw all that out.
Be on your best behavior.
And there was only really one line that I was going to use. I decided not to. But then when I heard Caleb get up and say a joke that his dad has cracked, I'm like, dang it, I wish I would have used that line. So one of the lines that I did not use Friday night, when I got up, I talked about how big Caleb's speech was last year. Caleb Rowden, our state senator, talked about how big and important it was because he was right about the issue of education. And I was trying to tie something together. Education, Caleb's big thing, as long as it's not geography, because in geography, of course, you study maps. And I didn't use it, but then he got it. Remember what he said when he first got up, Hannah? His dad had joked to him, and Caleb said this on stage. He said his dad joked that he should have went and handed out crayons and blank pieces of paper on all the tables so people could draw their own maps. So that's the only reason I mentioned this. And I think one of the other interesting things, big takeaway, the attendance there the other night. And then, that was about it. All right, teacher satisfaction survey from Missouri State Teachers Association. And what bums me out, do you contemplate leaving the profession? And I'm not sure exactly how many teachers were talked. 2,800 educators, almost 3,000. And a large percentage of them say, I think about leaving, I have thought about it, or sometimes. And one of the biggest reasons for teachers wanting to leave, students' behaviors. But it's interesting, so it's student behaviors. Kids coming to school, it's the behavior of the kids. And I don't know if they're not getting disciplined enough at school, at home, but that's the biggest issue. But then you look at southern Boone County, and it's kind of interesting because student behavior wasn't the number one reason for stress among teachers. It's not student behavior in the conservative enclave of Ashland, Missouri.
Yeah, they said student behavior is not really a concern. It actually is last, and in the statewide survey, it was first. But really, it's more about money. It's more about, how you get paid. And Southern Boone has the unique situation where it's sandwiched between two of the larger, highest paid school districts. And so, whereas in Southern Boone, the minimum salary is $34,875, you look at Jeff City and the minimum salary starts at about 38, and in Columbia at about 39. And so when they're talking about, yes, I've considered leaving or I've been applying for another job, typically it relates to, wanting higher pay. Which I can see, but I mean, there are some significant advantages to being in Southern Boone, particularly. Apparently, the student behavior is pretty good. You're welcome.
I think that's right. As the
I'm
parent
always
of
shocked.
three
I'm always shocked when I go and I'm like, "Are you sure they're behaving?" They're like, "Oh, they're angels." I'm like, "Really?"
So I just thought interesting takeaway. Number one across the state, number one issue for teachers, student behaviors. But you come here in the heartland of Missouri, heartland of America.
Second largest community in Boone County. So better pay, but I was shocked by this. The second one was feeling unsupported by parents in the community. And I think there's probably an overwhelming sense of that, of just like being attacked, because there's been so much debate about masks and everything else. But I hope our teachers in Southern Boone know that we are just so thankful for them and that they are supported.
Coming up 7, and we do appreciate all the teachers. Teachers as a whole, I think, have gotten a lot of flack over the past couple of years because we talk about it's the teachers' unions really that are evil, and we saw that. We know that. It's not so much teachers. What's up?
We're celebrating a Monday with cute animals.
Wake Up Columbia with Branden Rathert. Mid-Missouri is listening.
I think one darkly humorous but inevitable measurement of our success is that our disinformation conference has been the subject of disinformation campaigns on social media already.
That's the editor-in-chief of The Atlantic, University of Chicago. We highlighted several cuts last week of students challenging these journalists. I think probably the top one, Brian Stelter being peppered by a college student about, you talk about disinformation, and the kid rattled off the whole thing. Was it Nicholas Sandman, the guy in Kentucky with the Native American, talked about all these disinformation stories that CNN did. And there was another great exchange where another reporter from The Atlantic said, yeah, the Hunter Biden thing, there's no interest there. It's not important. College student said, well, it's important because the guy's dad is the president, and with the money, see, it is a thing. And then this guy, to wrap up the conference, says CNR thing has been subject to misinformation over the weekend, too. And they didn't like the questions from those college students. Good work, guys. Right now, 7:25-ish, which means it's
7:28.
Time for What's Hot with Hannah.
Today is a very important national holiday, and it's perfect that it falls on a Monday. It's National Pet Day. Stephanie Bell won't be a fan because, she hates things that bring people joy.
She doesn't like puppy breath.
I hate it.
She doesn't like little warm puppies. That's where
Nope.
she separates from Amy Coney Barrett, their opinion on puppies.
But to celebrate on a dreary Monday morning, I've just asked the Wake Up Columbia family to post pictures of their pets on our Facebook page.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
And I think Mary probably wins most unique pet. She posted a bunch of pictures of, different birds that she has.
Ew.
One of them...
Double whammy. It's birds and a pet.
One of them, his name is Simon, and she says that he's 40 years old.
Does Simon talk? I wonder.
I don't know.
We get Simon to do...
You're listening to Wake Up Columbia, 93.9 The Eagle.
I wonder if we could check out the pictures on the Wake Up Columbia Facebook page. That 6-hour gap in call logs from the White House, January the 6th. Yeah, about that. Some clarification coming our way from CNN, of all people. We'll do that for you, 7:35 here on 93.9 The Eagle. Right now, I have your ABC 17 storm track forecast, 52 today. Rain, likely 47 tonight. Some sunshine tomorrow with a high of 83. Then the roller coaster goes back down a little bit on Wednesday. Showers, thunderstorms, high maybe 70. Right now, 50. With warmer weather, pests get active. There's two types of structures in mid-Missouri. Ones that have pests, ones that will. Steve's 5-star service and pest prevention will protect you 24/7.
Fox News, I'm Lillian Wu. The Biden administration stepping up the fight against so-called ghost guns. Meanwhile, the president is set to announce a nominee to run the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, and Explosives.
Steve Dettelbach, a longtime prosecutor with the Department of Justice. Dettelbach was confirmed as the U.S. Attorney for the Northern District of Ohio in 2009.
Fox's Tanya J. Powers. And the FDA doesn't think many dogs are being fed properly. Of the owners surveyed,
22% reported washing their dog's dish once a week on average. 18% washed their dish less than every 3 months or not at all. The FDA says to wash your dog's dish after every use and be sure to wash your hands before and after handling pet food and treats. That'll prevent harmful bacteria from causing foodborne illness.
Fox's Gianna Gelosi. America's listening to Fox News.
And now award-winning local news coverage with Brian Hauswirth on 93.9 The Eagle.
93.9 The Eagle News Time with Robinson's Cleaners. Robinson saves you time. It is 7:31. We do have right now clear skies. Our high today will only get up to around 52 degrees. There is a chance of severe weather in far southern Missouri today. We'll have a complete check of your forecast coming up here in a little bit. Good morning, everyone, and here's some of the stories we are working on for you in this 7 o'clock hour. You'll have the opportunity here starting in about 28 minutes to watch certification efforts in Columbia's tied 3rd Ward Council race. Boone County Clerk Brianna Lennon says the certification will start at 8 this morning. It is open to the public. They'll start by adjudicating the provisional ballots. Again, that'll take place at the Roger Wilson Government Center, which is right next to the Boone County Courthouse, downtown Columbia. Look for Columbia School Board to approve a resolution tonight authorizing financing for the Boone County Nature School construction project.
CPS has committed $2 million for the Boone County Nature Schools construction, while the Missouri Department of Conservation has committed $1 million for design and land development. If the board approves tonight's resolution, the issuance of $2 million in debt would be paid back over 15 years. The Nature School will be accessible to all 5th graders in Boone County, and the land was donated by Hank and Vicki Waters. The Columbia community has already raised more than 93% of the $1.5 million fundraising goal. Don Luzader, 93.9 The Eagle.
Don, thank you. Columbia police say the victim who was shot on Orchard Lane Saturday afternoon suffering life-threatening injuries. Orchard is north of the busy Clark Lane Ballinger roundabout. It is near McKee Street Park. And Senate Majority Leader Caleb Rowden is hopeful there'll be a path forward soon on congressional redistricting. He joins us live 8:10 this morning here on 93.9 The Eagle. Our news time is 7:33. News brought to you by Willett Dental Associates. Turning our attention now to sports, and we'll begin with the St. Louis Cardinals as the Pirates beat the Cardinals Sunday at Busch Stadium. The Cardinals with 9 hits in 3 innings, spoiling the debut of pitcher Steven Matz in a Cardinal uniform. He did not have a great outing, and they hit him early and got again with 9 hits in 3 innings. He's a left-handed pitcher, had pretty good control in the game, but Pittsburgh pretty impressive, at least in that game yesterday. St. Louis wrapping up its 4-game series with Pittsburgh today at Busch Stadium. First pitch is set for 1:15 right here on 93.9 The Eagle. You'll catch it on your home for the Cardinals today and all season long. 93.9 The Eagle, and Tom Ackerman will have your pregame coverage. It was Cleveland beating the Royals yesterday by a score of 17-3, and Scheffler backing up his #1 ranking, a big win yesterday at the Masters in Augusta. Sports is also brought to you this hour by WillettDentalAssociates.com. 93.9 The Eagle News Time, 7:34. Traffic check with MidmoHires.com. Local companies are looking for local people. MidmoHires.com to find a job or post your job opening today. The roads right now are pretty quiet in mid-Missouri. A reminder that coming up tomorrow, you have an opportunity, if you'd like to take a tour, a guided tour of the Columbia Regional Airport Terminal Project. Now, that is scheduled to take place at 3:30 in the afternoon. We could see some storms around that time. Not expecting anything severe around that time, but be prepared for rain if you're heading down there. If you want to go, 3:30 tomorrow at Columbia Regional Airport. More team coverage in less than 30 minutes. We have breaking news immediately. I'm Brian Hauswirth, 93.9 The Eagle.
Seven-hour and 37-minute gap in White House call records during the Capitol Hill riot.
Stunning new reporting.
Explosive new reporting. Bombshell discovery.
About the January 6th committee's investigation into a 7-hour, 37-minute gap.
7 hours of missing phone records. Gaps in call logs.
That big call log gap.
Man, what a huge story that was. I judge how big of a story is going to be, or how excitable, especially progressive media, is whenever there's a story and my phone starts blowing up with all these breaking news alerts. So last week, 2 weeks ago, breaking news alert, 6-hour gap in President Trump's call logs from Jan. Big gap. And we are going to correct that. Actually, CNN will fact check that for us coming up here on 93.9 The Eagle. It is Wake Up Columbia.
Whoa. Are you feeling okay?
What happened?
Did you just pull a JJ and say the wrong news outlet?
Joe Jr., did you mean to say Fox? Instead, you said CNN will fact-check malicious claims against the former president. Did you say that? Yeah, CNN, via tweet and on air. It's like, hey, there's nothing to see here. But here's what happens. It's the wrapping. You can take a great gift, but if you put it in Teenage Mutant Ninja wrapping paper
that's moldy,
and give it, listen, you could be giving somebody the gift of a diamond necklace and you give it to her, but that it's wrapped in the ninja paper. Same thing. You can take crap, like missing 7 hours worth of missing audio on the phone logs, but man, if you jazz it up and you put red graphics to it on the TV and you bring in somebody who is in the Nixon era who's like, this could be bigger than Watergate. How many times have we heard that over the years? This could be bigger than Watergate, bigger than Watergate. And it's so easy to, so you get excitable because they wrap it up in this package of, oh my gosh, this is it. This is the 2 impeachments. This didn't get Trump. That didn't get Trump. This Russian disinformation, we can't tie anything to Trump. Finally, we may have something. So every single progressive news outlet is forwarding out these text alerts, breaking news. This is the one that's going to do Trump in. This will get him. This is the one. CNN. The rescue. First, want to say hello and introduce everybody here in the Wake Up Columbia family. Stephanie Bell, how was your weekend?
It was great.
How was you doing? You're probably hanging out with famous politicians and stuff like that. We give Stephanie, who's a very high-profile attorney, Ellinger and Associates in Jefferson City. She is hanging out like, Japanese prime ministers, Washington, D.C., dinner with Tom Cotton, stuff like that. Hanging out with Kennedy from Fox.
Yeah, I did get to meet Kennedy from Fox. So I went to Reason Weekend, so it was like libertarian galore. Like everyone there was super interesting, super fun. So lots of talking about capitalism. We talked about space, talked about Elon Musk. Drug legalization, Bitcoin, like all those like freedom-loving topics, and it was fun.
Do you know what Kennedy did before she became a talking head for the mothership?
She was a VJ on MTV. Yeah, she talked a little bit about that.
Yeah, it's kind of VJ. Hannah, the 21-year-old college graduate. Have you ever heard the phrase VJ?
Really? Yes, but probably not in the same context.
Oh, God, Hannah.
Oh, yeah. That's why I was giggling. I'm sorry.
Wow.
It's not my fault that you chose to say it over and over again.
Hannah. See, Hannah, people were joking Friday night while we were at the Boone County Lincoln Day. Said, it's a good thing Hannah's here keeping tabs on you. Sometimes it should be the other way around. I should be keeping tabs on Hannah, the producer.
Listen, I don't bring it up until you ask me why I'm giggling.
Brian Hauswirth, how was your weekend?
Pretty good, my friend. I got to see Mom and Dad, and that's always a pleasure. And they say hello to everybody out there. Mom doing better as best we can. God's taking good care of her. And then enjoyed covering the Boone County Lincoln Days on Friday. Got several interviews, a few I'm still working on. And I'm also working on the court appearance I covered with McWilliams on Friday. Only reporter in the courtroom on Friday, and I will tell you that I need another day to work on it. But
and that's the guy. That's the guy related to the restaurant.
Yeah, McLanks. Yeah, that's his trial's going to be delayed. But boy, there was some interesting things said in the courtroom on Friday.
Is this wrong to say? I've been thinking about this, but I'll just ask. And all accusations, legal charges, all that stuff. That dude, he made some great hot wings.
He had a following. He had a following. If you look at their Facebook page, but
the hot wings were the best. Is that wrong to say? Seriously, is it wrong to make mention? Guy accused, charged, accused. He is innocent.
He is charged
until proven guilty. But he made some good hot wings.
I've seen that, and I've never eaten there or whatever. He did have a good following, obviously. Basically, in a nutshell, what happened Friday is the judge, Joshua Calvin Devine, delayed the trial to give him an opportunity to send this appeal to the Court of Appeals because he wants the charges dropped. Basically, I mean, the attorney has filed paperwork basically saying he's innocent.
And think about this too for people that think. And I said this. I fessed up to it. I owned it last week. A lot of times you're charged. I assume that you're guilty. And we look at that other high-profile case with Fatuhian, and he judge said not guilty. That stunned a lot of people, not just in the community, but talking with other folks at local news outlets. I was stunned whenever Brian got word, and hey, listen, judge says he's not guilty. I was stunned. Maybe the same thing happens here. I went to an Easter egg hunt.
Mm-hmm. That's awesome.
No, it was for dogs. Let me finish the story, Brian. It was an Easter egg hunt.
What?
If you showed up to just like a regular Easter egg hunt, I'd be a little bit concerned.
right?
But still, how is one for dogs much better? He doesn't have a dog.
Well, it was a friend of mine. She says, "Hey, we're gonna go do this thing. Do you want to go?" And we're on the phone. So she's saying, "Do you want to go to this Easter egg dog hunt?" And I'm shaking my head like, but I said, "Yes, of course I want to go." So I go. It's Lizzie and Rocco's over there at Green Meadows, and it was a huge turnout, and they threw out eggs for the dogs, and the dogs were going, and
Did they put like treats in the eggs, or how did that work?
And they did not taste good, by the way, because I tried one. I found an egg too, and it was not good. But so my first thing when they said, "Hey, it's an Easter egg hunt for dogs," I'm like, "Is today Easter?" Did I forget something?
No, it was Palm Sunday.
Yes, it was.
I bet it was. How about that? Welcome into the show.
This Sunday is Easter.
This Sunday is, so I'm thinking, because I don't know, I don't pay attention to that stuff, and I'm thinking, dog Easter egg hunt's got to be Easter.
Yeah, I was going to say Palm Sunday for people who are Catholic like me. It's the longest homily of. It's about it's a long homily, but the longest gospel. It's probably about 15, 20 minutes.
Let me ask you something seriously. So you eat fish on Fridays, is that right?
During Lent, yes.
Okay, during Lent, you eat fish on Fridays. Do you ever, and it's one day a week, but do you ever go, man, I would really rather me and Branden go to Cece's and get some steak? Because you can get fish at Cece's, by the way, on Fridays, any day of the week. But you sometimes like, man, just be honest.
Yes, absolutely. And here's the other thing is if you have dietary issues or diabetes, which I do, and other issues, they basically are a little lenient. I still can go without it. It's not to that point, but yeah, of course I'd love a steak, but I enjoy the fish too. It's one day a week. It used to be years ago. It was every Friday. People, our older listeners, every Friday you could not eat meat.
It's like I only really want Chick-fil-A on a Sunday, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
I have driven to Chick-fil-A on a Sunday.
Right?
And been very disappointed when I got there.
Exactly.
Okay, CNN to the rescue. Seriously. Don't freak out, Anna. So you may have heard the stories. We didn't cover it a whole lot here because did not believe there was a whole lot to it. Thank goodness CNN has my back. So there is the big, oh my God, there's 6 hours of missing audio from Trump's call logs January 6th.
7 hour and 37-minute gap in White House call records during the Capitol Hill riot.
Stunning new reporting.
Explosive new reporting. Bombshell discovery.
So went home that night and all the three national news outlets, cable news, the stunning blank spot in the call logs from January 6th. Can't find call logs from President Trump. And the one who has, and we didn't cover it here because I thought there's nothing to it, despite the fact all of these journalists, all of these folks that are working in news at a national level ran with this thing, man. They pounded this thing into the ground. Paula Reed, CNN. Here's her take after researching the facts.
According to multiple sources familiar with Trump's phone behavior and the White House switchboard records, the January 6 log reflects Trump's typical phone habits. He mainly placed calls through the switchboard when he was in the residence, but rarely used it when he was in the Oval Office.
So in other words, okay, you could say there's a dead spot in the call logs. Well, there's dead spaces every single day because he doesn't always use the White House phone to make phone calls.
Well, like from 6 a.m. to 9 a.m., I'm not making a lot of phone calls on my personal phone because I am occupied. So,
and she has more.
Now, the 6 pages of logs for January 6 are determined to be complete based on an official review of those White House records. So there are no missing pages, and the 7-hour gap is likely explained by the use of White House landlines, White House cell phones, and personal cell phones.
So CNN to the rescue saying there is no gap. There is no gap. People took something, and that could be factually accurate. Yeah, there's a gap in the call logs. There's gaps every single day, but you heard how breathlessly a lot of these national journalists, they went after it, and we got to give our friends at the Clinton News Network some kudos.
Are you nominating them for winner of the week?
You know who I am nominating for one of our winners of the week earlier this morning? We had on the new mayor, the mayor-elect in Ashland. His name is Dorise Slinker. Interesting and to the point. And we were bringing him on the show, and we couldn't hear him. And we're like, we've got everything right on our end. And I don't know if he was dozing or maybe he'd put us on hold because he had more important things. I don't know. But then Russ pulled via text. I thought maybe the new mayor may have pulled an Eric Greitens. In other words, he wasn't showing up on our show. So I'm going to nominate that guy for one of our winners and losers of the week. We do it every Feel Good Friday. Coming up, 7:52, we have another episode of Psaki v. Ducey. But this one, it's really good because Fox's Pete Ducey, he's making his point by being, this is back to our thing on messaging.
She doesn't have much time left. You're going to be sad when she's gone, aren't you?
She's going to MSNBC, which blows me away how that's possible.
Have Psaki and Ducey announced their engagement yet? Is that public info yet?
They're apparently I don't know if they go fishing and stuff together on the weekends, but apparently they have much respect for each other. And oftentimes, when it's not during the press conference, you'll see them like in the hallway. They hang out and they talk.
Are you kidding me? Ducey goes fishing every day of the week in those press conferences.
Points for Hannah. So it's another episode of Psaki v. Ducey. We'll do that for you coming up at 7:52 on 93.9 The Eagle. Just wake up. Chronic pain, knee pain, joint pain, well, listen carefully because now there are new treatments available here. And I'm not talking surgery or steroids. These are regenerative treatments from the medical professionals at QC Kinetics. Hi, it's Branden Rathert. QC Kinetics is the leader in these exciting biological therapies that help restore and repair damaged tissue in your joints with lasting results. If you've got pain in your knees, shoulders, hip, or back, joint pain that won't go away, you need to check out these new treatments with astonishing patient satisfaction reports. They can actually help your body restore and repair itself with no downtime, no drugs, no surgery. Don't go through another year with that awful joint pain, and don't let them put you under the knife. You need to learn more about how biologic therapies are changing the way that we think about dealing with joint pain. Call QC Kinetics now for a free consultation. Call QC Kinetics now, 573-545-5588. That's 573-545-5588. 573-545-8888.
Wake Up Columbia on 93.9 The Eagle. The world is watching on Facebook Live. Are you?
I think there's going to be plenty afoot. There's plenty. If you look at Afghanistan, you look at the border crisis, you look at so many of these different things. The sad thing is, Maria, look at who's number two. Look at who's number two. I think number two is worse than number one. So this is the predicament that we're in. But these offenses that this president has done against the heart and soul of this country, against law and order, I think stands our grounds for impeachable offenses.
That's Representative Greg Murphy, Republican, North Carolina, telling Fox's Maria Bartiromo over the weekend, impeachment. But then look at who number two is, and you heard him. And I think we can all agree number two is usually worse than number one here. And right after that, House Minority Leader Kevin McCarthy was on the show, and he said, and I got to respect what he said. He said, it was used as a tool, political tool. He says, we're not going to do that. And Greg Murphy is right. So what if Joe Biden were to be impeached? Heck, let's say he were to be impeached twice, because we've seen it happen in history. What if he were to be impeached twice? Who do we get? Kamala would rather have Biden hang on for the final year and a half plus than taking our chances with that one. Welcome into the show. Wake Up Columbia. I'm Branden Rathert. Stephanie Bellhanna, the producer, Brian Hauswirth is here too. Coming up 8:10. State Senator Caleb Rowden is here talking about his speech Friday night at the Boone County Lincoln Days event, which I thought was really cool. Kansas City Star was there. I've never seen them there. Rudy Keller, Missouri Independent. He was there. We had one of our local TV stations at the very least. I know at least one was out there. The Missourian was there too. So it was a great event. All right now let's do another episode of Psaki v. Ducey. I love these showdowns they have in the White House because Fox's Pete Ducey it's not like the Acosta Trump thing. Acosta was trying to make a name for himself, and he was just rude and spiteful, in my opinion, and not because he was going after Trump. Psaki does the same thing with Jen Psaki. He just knows how to do it.
It's done very well, and it's, I think, strategic, and I think it's been some of the best parts of the Biden administration so far, hearing the two of them. And again, as much as you're going to hate when he's gone, I think he's going to, or when Psaki's gone, I think he's going to hate when she's gone too, because the relationship has been really... I think we've gotten a lot out of it.
Yeah, we have. As folks who want to know what's happening there. So Psaki being asked by Fox's Pete Ducey, there's this thing. So you come into the country illegally. I think it's one of the few laws that I'm aware of that you break and you get a free phone and they pay for your monthly service. The White House's contention is it helps us keep track of the people that broke the law by coming into our country illegally. But Pete has some really good questions about this.
Following up on the smartphones that are being given to border crossers with technology so they can be tracked or so they can check in, is there any plan to give free smartphones to U.S. citizens that want them?
That's a good question.
Fair.
Yeah. Why not? You're going to give them to people who break the law. And again, I don't know what other laws you could break that you're rewarded with a cell phone and a cell phone plan. I would love to do away with whatever I'm paying a month for my cell phone.
Yeah, me too.
I would love my phone. The phone I currently have is almost 5 years old. I wouldn't mind having a new one. I don't need a new one, but I would love it if the big guy would get me a phone and a monthly plan.
Don't you leave your phone at home all the time?
I do. Great event Friday night. According to the Missouri Independent, about 150 people in attendance at the Boone County Lincoln Days. In my mind, the great one of the more impactful speeches, the one given by State Senator Caleb Rowden. So much so that I wanted you to hear some of it. State Senator Caleb Rowden joins us at 8:10 on 93.9 The Eagle.
Florida versus Walgreens. I'm Chris Foster, Fox News. A trial accusing the drugstore chain of contributing to opioid addiction in the state starts today. Let's go live to Fox's Evan Brown.
Yeah, Chris, Florida is suing Walgreens, claiming the retail pharmacy was a key part in funneling more than 2 million pain pills to a small town.
The marketing, the distributing, these practices that led to where we are today cannot happen again in the future.
Florida Attorney General Ashley Moody, those millions of opioid pills were sent to a Walgreens in the town of Hudson, Florida. That's enough pills to give all 12,000 residents a 6-month supply. Monies awarded in court will be used to help towns prevent and treat drug addictions, Chris.
Evan, there are satellite images of what appears to be an 8-mile-long Russian military convoy in eastern Ukraine heading toward the Donbass region in the southeastern part of the country. The Russian military, meantime, reports taking out some of Ukraine's air defense systems over the weekend. Police officers in Buffalo, New York, who pushed an elderly protester to the ground, are cleared of any legal or procedural wrongdoing.
An arbitrator has ruled that Buffalo police officers Robert McCabe and Aaron Torgalski did not violate the department's use of force guidelines when they pushed a 75-year-old protester to the ground in June of 2020. The incident, which drew national attention, showed Martin Gugino being shoved by the officers who were clearing racial injustice protesters for an 8 p.m. curfew. Gugino fell backwards, hitting his head. He spent about a month in the hospital with a fractured skull and brain injury. The arbitrator said in his decision that there is, quote, no evidence that the officers had any other options other than to move Gugino out of the way. The Buffalo News reports that the officers who were suspended without pay will be reinstated. In New York, Tanya J. Powers, Fox News.
Round one of the presidential election in France has President Emmanuel Macron in first ahead of his far-right rival from the last election, Marie Le Pen. They're on the ballot in a runoff election in 2 weeks. America's listening to Fox News.
Economists are warning that sanctions against Russia could cause unintended damage in America, triggering devastating inflation. As gas prices skyrocket, prices for everything could surge even higher, making the current 40-year record inflation look mild. Hi, this is Stephen K. Bannon, and I urge you to take immediate action to protect your savings by opening a physical gold IRA with my friends at Birch Gold. I'm a Birch Gold customer myself, and they have my highest recommendation. Just text the word PROTECT to 989898, and they'll send you a free info kit on how to get started. In my opinion, gold IRAs are one of the best ways to protect your savings no matter what happens in America or around the world. And the best company to work with is Birch Gold. So text the word PROTECT to 989898 to get everything you need to know about protecting your savings with gold.
93.9 The Eagle News Time with Robinson's Cleaners. Robinson saves you time. It is 8:03. We do have mostly clear skies. 52 is our current temperature. No severe weather threat today in mid-Missouri. There is one south of Lebanon and Rolla if you're heading to those areas. We'll have a complete check of your forecast from John Ross coming up here in a few minutes. I'm Brian Hauswirth, and here's some of the stories we are working on for you in this 8 o'clock hour. We will begin with the weather. While there are a few scattered showers this morning across mid-Missouri, we did have a few warnings, thunderstorm warnings off to our east. The National Weather Service says there's no threat today in the listening area. NWS Kansas City meteorologist Pam Patrica tells 93.9 The Eagle there is a chance of severe storms in mid-Missouri late tomorrow evening into Wednesday morning. Tomorrow, storms will be developing in Kansas and Oklahoma before moving into the listening area right now. Now, these models could change, but right now we're looking at late tomorrow night. And again, we don't have a lot of details right now. These models are going to change, but at least you have some idea of the timing. This will be an active week of weather. Wednesday definitely looks concerning. You want to keep your radio tuned to 93.9 The Eagle and have fresh batteries for your radio. Meantime, sexual misconduct charges have been filed against a Jefferson City man. 93.9 The Eagle's John Marsh reports the suspect is now accused of trying to hang himself on a major highway.
Cole County's prosecutors charged Lucas Abbott with sexual misconduct involving a child under 15. According to our news partner, ABC 17, a witness found sexually explicit Snapchat messages and photos allegedly sent by Abbott to a 13-year-old. The witness told Abbott's spouse about the messages, and he was kicked out of the house. Investigators say Abbott then left the home and tried to kill himself by hanging himself on a highway overpass in Jefferson City. Police talked him down. He's now in a hospital on an involuntary mental commitment. John Marsh, 93.9, The Eagle.
John, thanks. A trucker charged with involuntary manslaughter for the December I-70 death of a Boone County assistant fire chief has been released from the Boone County jail. 64-year-old Kevin Brunson of Kansas City has been released. It's called his own recognizance, released on his own recognizance. In court terms, they call that an ROR bond. He posted it. He made his initial court appearance in late March. He pleaded not guilty. You'll recall the December crash killed Boone County Fire Protection District Assistant Chief Brian Gladney. His next court appearance is May the 2nd. While Missouri is still the only state in the nation that has not approved a new congressional redistricting map, there is hope that there could be a path forward in Jefferson City. Senate Majority Leader Caleb Rowden of Columbia spoke to me at Friday night's Boone County Lincoln Days dinner, and he told me House and Senate leadership met last week.
You know, you may see a new bill either come from the Senate over to the House or vice versa, just to create another vehicle to try to do something. Going to conferences kind of questionable at this point.
House voted 131 to 17 March 31st to request the conference committee with the Senate over the map issue. The two big issues are dividing Marshfield and then also dividing Columbia, Boone County. Senator Rowden joins us live immediately after this newscast with more details and also on other issues. And Columbia School Board is expected to approve a resolution tonight authorizing financing of the Boone County Nature School construction project. You'll recall that CPS has committed $2 million for the school's construction. That nature school would be accessible to all fifth graders in Boone County. Be located near Highway 63. It's called Tom Bass Road. That it would be near. We have a map of this up on our website right now, 939theeagle.com. You can find that information. News is brought to you this hour by Missouri Tourism. Discover the possibilities of Missouri tourism at visitmo.com. 939 The Eagle News Time, 8:07. Turning our attention now to sports. The Cleveland Guardians beating the Kansas City Royals yesterday by a score of 17-3 at Kauffman Stadium. Royals and Cleveland again today at Kauffman Stadium. They'll wrap up their series. Pirates and the Cardinals Sunday at Busch Stadium. Pittsburgh wins it 9-4. They had 9 hits in 3 innings, spoiling the debut of pitcher Steven Matz in a Cardinal uniform. St. Louis wrapping up its 4-game series. Businessman special with Pittsburgh tonight at Busch Stadium. First pitch is set for 1:15 on 93.9 The Eagle. And one other note, Branden will remember this name. I will. Anybody else? A guy by the name of Mr. October. Does anybody remember Mr. October? Reggie Jackson, number 44.
And the Reggie candy bar.
Exactly. It was a good candy bar. Branden, I knew you would remember that. Great job. Reggie Jackson was in Warrensburg over the weekend speaking at the Mules baseball banquet. The Central CMSU baseball banquet, gave a big speech. People enjoyed it. So Mr. October in Warrensburg, Missouri over the weekend. 93.9 The Eagle News Time, 8:08. All right, John, thanks so much. Our weather is brought to you this hour by Steve's Pest Control. Go to Steve's Pest Control for peace of mind. Right now, 53 degrees. Traffic check at 8:09. MidmoHires.com. Local companies are looking for local people. MidmoHires.com. Find a job, post your job opening today. Roads have been pretty quiet here in mid-Missouri. They are doing pothole work. MoDOT continues to do that. We'll keep you posted on those efforts. Also, just a quick reminder, Highway 63, work beginning today between Paris Road all the way down to Callaway County. We don't have exact locations. They don't usually announce that ahead of time, but the bottom line, they've told everybody to be prepared for work up and down that route on both sides of the road during normal work hours. That'll take months to complete that $15 million project. We'll have another update coming your way at 8:30. Breaking news immediately. I'm Brian Hauswirth, 93.9 The Eagle.
Make him the face of the Republican Party. Talk about Marjorie Taylor Greene, Lauren Boebert, Madison Cawthorn. Say this party is crazy town. It's Trumpist. Trump is a threat to our democracy. Try to make Democratic base voters scared again. Make Democratic base voters scared again.
Did you hear that? That's John Hellman, news analyst, MSNBC, talking about that's the messaging that we as progressives need to send to progressives. We need to scare the Democrat voter. It's funny and disturbing because he admitted what we've known all along. That's what they do. They scare people. The national news outlets, USA Today, they scare people who won't go and check both sides or all three sides of a story and make their own decisions. They spoon feed this stuff, and that's why we have Joe Biden as president. But that's the messaging from this dude who's in politics. We got to scare the people. Meanwhile, Friday night, Boone County Lincoln Days, over 150 folks in attendance, including some of the biggest names in Missouri politics. Messaging a little bit different there. As a matter of fact, I want to bring in State Senator Caleb Rowden. He gave the closing speech Friday night. And Caleb, you kind of talked about messaging, but you had a different take, and I think it's worthwhile that we kind of revisit some of those comments from Friday night. Talk about your message of messaging.
Yeah, so I've been thinking about this for a long time. It's being a guy that ran as a Republican in Columbia twice, you kind of have to get the messaging right, or you're not going to win. But I do think now we're getting into 2022. Everybody thinks Republicans are going to do well, and I think they will around the country. I've been reading this book that Newt Gingrich wrote called Beyond Biden, and it talks about just this idea that the Biden presidency, probably only 4 years. He's probably not leading the charge. I don't think anybody thinks Joe Biden is actually calling the shots. But it is kind of this inflection point between, Donald Trump and clearly Donald Trump changed a lot of things about American politics, and you can have your opinion if they're good or bad. But now everybody's really interested in what's next, and what does the time, the political moment beyond Joe Biden look like, and Democrats, in some ways, from my perspective, have just lost their minds. The things that they're talking about, the things that they're pushing, the things that they're advocating for, either directly or indirectly, just don't line up with a huge swath of America. And so this Newt Gingrich book talks about, he calls it the American majority, and it's basically this group of 10 or 12 issues, illegal immigration, CRT, some other things, that 70% of the country, they polled a ton of people. They polled tens of thousands of people on a huge variety of issues. And there are these issues that 70% or more of the country are in agreement on, and he calls that the American majority. It's not Republican or Democrat. Certainly, I think there are more Republicans inside of that group, but there's this majority of people who just say, hey, look, we just would like a little common sense injected back into our lives. I mean, the notion that I'm less of a person because I'm white, or someone else is less of a person because they're black or Asian or anything else. We don't like that. We don't like the idea that, some folks on the left are normalizing the idea that 3-year-olds have some ability to understand if they're supposed to change genders or not. The idea that rich people are greedy and should be taxed into oblivion. All of these things are things that just don't make any sense to a huge majority of folks, but it's what Democrats are talking about, and they cannot They don't have the ability at this point. I think that the ship has just turned too far. They don't have the ability to turn around. So it's the reason why they have to try and rig the system.
And I want to get your thoughts
on
this. So I think we as conservatives, whether we're libertarian, independent, Republican, whatever, I think so now is a time that we can take advantage of the distaste from the Democrats, the people milling around outside of the tents, younger people, which I think, by the way, is really, really important to our party right now. We need to bring in a younger generation of conservatives. In your mind, if we're trying to do that, bring in these regretful Biden voters. Because here's my thing. We got to quit trying to win arguments and debating and yelling and leaving sick burns on Twitter. I just think there's a better way we can get the message across.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. And I think, I do think there's a huge chunk of folks who don't, I've always said, I say it all the time, Twitter's not real life. I think there's a lot of people who live their lives offline and just go on off of based of what they feel and see on an everyday basis, not what they read online. I think we do have a tremendous opportunity to just hone in on those issues, hone in on those kitchen table issues. And in 2020, I ran on the idea that we're going to make our schools better, our economy stronger, our community safer. The party that talks about how to make sure that everybody has a job, to make sure that communities are safe and that people aren't getting, shot to death and stores aren't getting looted. I mean, look at San Francisco and places like that. And the party that talks about how to functionally try to get as many kids as humanly possible better education. Whoever talks about that, and even more so whoever does that, could own the American majority for the next 50 years. And that's it seems like that's an impossibility given how quickly our pendulum swings, in America from Obama to Trump to Biden. But I really think there's a unique opportunity here because the Dems, the things that they're talking about even now, just surprised the heck out of me. And I think we've got a great chance to speak a language that a lot of folks will be interested in.
And I rather appreciated your message Friday night. State Senator Caleb Rowden messaging to some of the folks outside of either one of the tents and kind of going back some of the big highlights from his speech Friday night at the Boone County Lincoln Days.
And you've talked a lot about education, and I think last week a lot of us in Midmo were a little disappointed with the school board elections, or a lot disappointed looking at Branden's face. And, there's several pending pieces of legislation, whether it be like open enrollment or moving the school board elections or some of these other charter school bills. And we got ESAs done last year. Will we see significant movement on those education priorities, in your opinion, this year?
Yeah, education is a really, really slow moving train in Jefferson City. It's frustrating to me as a guy who really this has become the thing that I care the most about. But you have three or four buckets, really three buckets. Republicans who are gung ho and ready to do all of these things that you just mentioned and more. Democrats who by and large are against everything. Because they're sticking up for the teachers' unions, and then a smaller group, but an important group of rural Republicans who, the superintendent's the loudest voice in their district back home, and certainly public education is probably the biggest employer, and so it's really, really hard for those folks to take that jump. I hope we get some more stuff done this year. We're certainly going to get some more stuff done in the next few years. I think there's a tremendous amount of momentum behind it. But it is always going to be a slower moving train in Jefferson City than folks want, and it's really just the nature of the process. But it is amazing to me that Democrats have, effectively abandoned kids and parents, and they know it's a losing message. If you ask them privately, they know they're losing. They know that this is not something that works well for them publicly, but they have to do it because they're such a huge part of the amount of money that they raise is from teachers unions, and so they just have to take a bad political position, and it's really, really sad. And teachers and parents and students suffer as a result.
Senator, we appreciate you joining us. A lot going on. I know you're busy. Two very quick questions. Number one, is there anything new on a map since we talked on Friday? And two, to follow up on Stephanie's question about schools. There is a Democratic candidate running for a House seat in Northwest Missouri. She's got a huge Twitter following, by the way. Her name is Jess Piper. running up in far northwest Missouri. I'm sure you know who that is. But she writes this over the weekend, 13 hours ago. She says, quote, "Our rural schools are falling to 4-day weeks because we need to recruit teachers. We can't afford to pay them a decent salary," end of quote. Your thoughts on that?
So nothing really new on the map. We're gonna continue. I think the thing I told you Friday, we're gonna probably introduce a new vehicle into the equation, whether it's another Senate bill that we send over to the House that they can amend it, or vice versa. So we're still working. We're still trying to find a path on that. To the second point, I mean, look, there's a whole host of reasons why. Teachers don't want to teach anymore. I think there's plenty of, and I support the idea of paying teachers more. I think anytime you can get rock star men and women teaching our kids, that's good. What the person in from Northwest Missouri doesn't tell you is that she doesn't probably support paying good teachers better. She doesn't support firing bad teachers on the spot. Because the teachers' unions have said that that's not a good thing, because the teachers' unions want to normalize the good with the bad. And so the reason why good teachers leave is because they don't get paid like a good teacher. They get paid like an average teacher. And so, really public education is still the greatest example of socialization and socialism that you could ever come up with. The idea is just to make everything and everybody average. And so as long as we do that, we're going to fail. And Ms. Piper, is advocating for that. She is advocating for, and she is defending positions that are absolutely obliterating the ability of public education to teach our kids well. And she's doing it because she has bought in to this notion that teachers' unions know what's going on, they know what's best, and that we should follow whatever they want. And the reality couldn't be any further from the truth. So if Democrats want to get on board with paying teachers more, or want to get on board with our side of things, which is paying teachers well, paying good teachers better, just basically beating up and getting rid of teachers' unions, I'll certainly support higher pay for good teachers. I think that's something that we can agree on. But the Democrats are the ones that are absolutely ruining public education, and it's really, really sad.
Education tonight. Columbia Public School Board, they meet. They'll be swearing in Suzette Waters and then Blake Willoughby, the incumbent. The other thing that they will be doing tonight at our Columbia Public School Board meeting, they're going to okay submission. They want $10,000 in the public school district for a gender affirming closet. In other words, you show up, and if you don't feel like whatever gender you are, they are going to provide clothes for you in this gender affirming closet. Columbia Public School Board meeting tonight. $10,000. Unbelievable. Before we let you go, final question. I've only got about 30 seconds here. It was interesting looking at some looking at some of the news outlets that covered this, that covered the Boone County Lincoln Days Friday, and they all have a different take as to what the big story was. The Missouri Independent and Rudy Keller wrote the big takeaway. Eric Greitens was not there. The Missourian said the big takeaway, they focused on the incredible talent in state Senate, or excuse me, U.S. Senate candidates that we had. ABC 17, their big thing was on redistricting. For me, my big thing, I thought, was messaging, because it's something I covered. It's something that you covered. Just kind of curious, not as a politician, quick answer, in your mind, biggest takeaway from the event Friday night.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a ton of momentum, but again, I think we have to get it right. Everybody's excited about the United States Senate race. We're going to win that race as long as Eric Greitens isn't the nominee. There's a tremendous amount of optimism and support for any number of candidates in that congressional floor race, a couple of which are here in Boone County. So there's a ton of optimism, and there's a ton of momentum, but we got to get it right. And
all right.
I think we've got a great opportunity.
State Senator Caleb Rowden, thank you for what you do, and thank you for joining us this morning on Wake Up Columbia.
You bet, guys.
All right, anything we can do for you, please let us know. Morning Bell business news with that little twist that only
Hi, this is Henry, and I'm Brandon's dad. My favorite show on 93.9 The Eagle is The Gary Nolan Show.
Is this the last big thing they pass? Is this the last big thing this Congress accomplishes before November?
Chuck Todd, MSNBC, KBJ, is that the last big thing that will happen before the November midterms widely? And I hope nobody does anything to mess it up. But it's widely, I think the wide belief is that this should be an incredible turnout and incredible election midterms, November 2022. Incredible for conservatives and smart people. It's 8:28. Time for the Morning Bell Business News with Stephanie Bell. Business news, and it's a little twist that only Stephanie Bell can give you.
Well, we're back on Elon. So they announced last week that after he bought 9.2% of the shares, they were going to offer him this board seat. But the board seat came with some contingencies. And just in the last day, they've announced, guess what? And so everyone got really excited. Elon's going to join the board. He's going to make some changes.
And this was the board of Twitter.
Yes, board of Twitter. And he's, okay, so he's going to, maybe he'll give us an edit button. He'd been kind of trolling Twitter for a while. But there were so many contingencies, apparently. Elon has decided not to join the Board of Governors. One thing was that as part of it, he wasn't going to be able to take like more than 15%, which would prevent him from like a total takeover. And so maybe he didn't like that provision. The other thing interesting in the Twitter CEO announcement on Twitter about Elon not joining, he said, we also believe that having Elon as a fiduciary of the company, where he, like all board members, has to act in the best interests of the company and all of the shareholders, was the best path forward. And so that's an important, I think, point in the statement that was put on Twitter was, Elon would have certain duties, these fiduciary duties that you have to undertake when you join the board of directors that maybe Elon wasn't so happy about. And so now he doesn't have those duties. So what's he going to do now that he's kind of a free man?
And a lot of folks in the Twitterverse kind of bummed out because hoping that, hey, maybe he could make some changes. So, if we say something that's disagreeable to other folks, it will not get taken off Twitter. Coming up, highlighting our other frontline responders. We're going to do that for you at 8:35 here on 93.9 The Eagle. Right now, I have your ABC 17 storm track forecast. We're seeing some showers now. It's going to kind of be a thing today. Our high, like maybe 52. A few clouds, 47 tonight. Tomorrow, the roller coaster goes up. Sunshine, 83. Wednesday, comes back down a little bit. Rain, thunderstorms, high only 69. Right now it is 53. With warmer weather, pests get active. And there's two types of structures in Missouri. Structures that have pests and ones that will get pests. Steve's 5-star service and pest prevention will protect you 24/7. Go to Steve's Pest Control for peace of mind.
Fox News, I'm Lillian Wu. Russia has warnings for Finland and Sweden not to join NATO, warning them that moves to do so would not bring stability to Europe. This as Russia intensifies its siege of Ukraine.
As Russia shifts its focus for a new wave of this war, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky telling 60 Minutes that what is needed more than anything is weapons to bolster his country's military capabilities, urging NATO to take stronger action.
Fox's Alex Hogan outside Lviv, and Florida is suing Walgreens,
claiming the retail pharmacy was a key part in funneling more than 2 million pain pills to a small town. Those millions of opioid pills were sent to a Walgreens in the town of Hudson, Florida. That's enough pills to give all 12,000 residents a 6-month supply.
Fox's Evan Brown, America's listening to Fox News.
And now award-winning local news coverage with Brian Hauswirth on 93.9 The Eagle.
93.9 The Eagle News Time with Robinson's Cleaners. Robinson saves you time. It is 8:31. We have partly cloudy skies. It's 53 here in Columbia, 52 degrees in Jefferson City. Rain is likely today. Nothing severe, at least not today. Our high today around 52 degrees. Good morning, everyone. Here's some of the stories we are working on for you at this hour. You'll have an opportunity this morning to watch the certification efforts in Columbia's tied 3rd Ward Council race. Boone County Clerk Brianna Lennon says certification began at 8 this morning. It is open to the public. They're starting by adjudicating. the provisional ballots. Meantime, Columbia police told me just a few moments ago there's nothing new to report on Saturday afternoon shooting on Orchard Lane, which means there have not been any arrests. The victim in the case suffering life-threatening injuries. It happened on Orchard near the busy Clark Lane Ballinger roundabout. That is also near McKee Street Park. If you have any information, please call Columbia Crime Stoppers 573-875-TIPS. In Ozarks, congressman who is seeking Missouri's GOP U.S. Senate nomination says his campaign is going well and that he feels good about his team's ground game. Springfield Congressman Billy Long is traveling around the state speaking at various Lincoln Day events. He was in Columbia Friday night, spoke to 93.9 The Eagle.
Now, if you listen to my opponents, they're all trying to crush me and tell me that I should get out and that I'm going to come in seventh in a six-way race. But that's exactly, Brian, what they told me the first time when I ran for Congress.
He was talking about 2010 when he beat 2 state senators and a representative in the primary that year, now in a 6-term Capitol Hill. And Columbia State Farm Parkway could soon have a name change to Veterans United Parkway, according to Inside Columbia Magazine. More, 939theeagle.com. News brought to you by Hemi Construction. 93.9 The Eagle news time is 8:33. Turning our attention now to sports. We'll start with Cardinal baseball today. It's a businessman special, and you'll hear it live right here on 93.9 The Eagle. Your home for Cardinal baseball. Pirates beating the Cardinals by a score of 9-4 Sunday at Busch Stadium. The Pirates 9 hits in 3 innings, spoiling the debut of pitcher Steven Matz in a Cardinal uniform. St. Louis wrapping up its series with Pittsburgh today at Busch Stadium. First pitch is set for 1:15. 93.9 The Eagle. Tom Ackerman on the pregame coverage today. Apparently a guy ran on the field on Saturday afternoon at Busch Stadium. John Rooney and Rick Horton spent some time talking about it. Rick Horton was pretty upset. He called the person's action selfish. That player, or not player, but the fan eventually taken off the field and apparently has been arrested. That happened Saturday afternoon in front of about 45,000 people. Kansas City Royals taking on the Cleveland Guardians yesterday, 17-3. Royals win it. Kansas City and the Cardinals start their series tomorrow at Busch Stadium. Sports is brought to you this hour by Betts Jewelers, downtown Columbia. 93.9 The Eagle news time is 8:34. Traffic check with MidmoHires.com. Local companies are looking for local people. MidmoHires.com to find a job or to post your job opening today. Roads are pretty quiet here in mid-Missouri. If you want to report a traffic issue, you can give us a call or a text. Our phone number is 573-874-9390. More team coverage in less than 30 minutes, and we have breaking news immediately. I'm Brian Hauswirth, 93.9 The Eagle.
Hello, everyone. I love you all. I know you're having a great time at the Kid Rock concert tonight. Quite frankly, he's amazing. All of you in attendance are the true backbone of our great country. Hardworking, God-fearing, rock and roll patriots. Bob is truly one of the greatest entertainers of our time. Not the best golfer by any means. His golf game could use a little work. But a great, great entertainer, and that's why you're there. Let's all continue to love one another, fight for our God-given freedoms, and most of all, let's make America rock again.
Donald Trump, video message before a Kid Rock concert. Kid Rock coming to St. Louis this summer. You can get tickets for like $2,000 if you want to see Kid Rock at Riverport.
Inflation, man. Inflation.
But I like the messaging there, too, from Mr. Donald J. Trump, kind of what Caleb Rowden was talking about. And one of the things that we covered Friday night at the Boone County Lincoln Days, the messaging there from Trump, we got to continue to love one another, man. I like it. Welcome to the show. Wake Up Columbia. Stephanie Bell is here.
Good morning.
There's Mr. Brian Hauswirth.
It's great to see you.
That's Hannah, the producer.
Good morning.
My name is Branden Rathert. If there's something we can do for you today, 874-9390, 874-9390. We spent a lot of time heaping praise on our first responders, firefighters. Hannah's engaged. Hannah's boyfriend is a firefighter. Sorry, I haven't done that for 4 months. I quit teasing you 5 months ago. Hannah, I always tease Hannah about her fiance, and one day she came to me and said, hey, and I said, okay, I'll quit.
Because he's my boyfriend.
That's right. And so I quit doing it because it bothered Hannah, and I respect that. And so this is first, and that was not intentional. I messed up. But Hannah, the producer, is here. Her boyfriend is a firefighter. I still sport the blue bracelet. My sister's in law enforcement. The folks that make it happen, 911 operators. I got to tour the Boone County Joint Communications Center about 2 months ago, and seeing what unfolds in this building and what these 911 operators do, my goodness. So it happens to be National 911 Public Safety Telecommunications Week. So I wanted to bring in a shift supervisor from the Boone County Joint Communications Center, Jodi Pryor, and Director Chad Martin onto the show real quick this morning to talk about some of what they do. And let me start with Chad. Chad, let me ask you, somebody listening this morning, what might be the thing that might surprise them the most about what happens at the BCJC?
Well, right now, unfortunately, it is the low number of dispatchers we have. We have a big shortage in the workforce, as you know, with all fields, but us specifically here, we are down several dispatchers. So the few number that are here handling those calls are doing it as quickly and as diligently as they can to provide the same level of service that we do when we are higher staffed.
Jodi Pryor, shift supervisor. I got to see you guys in action a couple of weeks ago, and the computers, and this is the type of call, and this is the resolution to it. What is it that somebody doesn't maybe know? What is the number one thing that you would want folks to know about the shift of a 911 telecommunications operator?
There's several things, but the most important thing that I would like for the general public to take away is when they're calling in, to please be patient. We are going to ask a series of questions, but that helps us to prioritize the call. And it's not that we're not sending anybody. We are sending somebody as that call is being processed. We do get to shipping points within those questions where it ships over to another operator to be dispatched out. So even though they think that we might be wasting time and delaying a dispatch, we're not.
That's a good point, because if I'm calling 911, I need you. I need somebody, and my thing happening right then and there is the biggest emergency in the world, no matter how minor of an issue it might be. And I'm guessing you get this all the time, Jodi. What am I saying? Please hurry, send somebody now. And you're asking questions, but that's kind of to your point. There's a reason that we are asking those questions.
Yeah, and a lot of it's just for responder safety and trying to get as much information for them as we possibly can to keep them safe.
Well, and that's what I'm always amazed by when I hear the calls, that come out that are published, is just how calm the operators stay and how much comfort they're able to provide for people who are just oftentimes in hysterics.
Yeah, and a lot of that, I think, just comes with training and experience. The longer I think you do the job, it does become a little bit easier in the emergency situations to remain calm with your callers. And it's important for us to remain calm because then we can hopefully try to calm those callers down as well.
It's Jodi Pryor, shift supervisor, Boone County Joint Communications, also joined by Chad Martin. He is the director. It's National 911 Public Safety Telecommunications Week. Chad, maybe you talk a little bit, because so in this tour, there's decompression rooms. So like a 911 operator after a particularly stressful shift can go in and decompress after a busy, hectic shift. Talk about what a 911 operator is going through following a shift where there's been a lot of things going on.
Well, it depends. One of the most stressful events that I've seen here recently was a child, unfortunately, passed away in a fire incident, and that affected the whole shift. And while the person on the phone was able to step away, everybody else had to stay in the room and do the job. And as a director, I was there and in the room when that was occurring, and it was really hard on me to watch them have to power through that, knowing that not everybody could get up and leave, because then there's no one left in the county to answer the 911 calls. So we provide peer support services after incidents like that, and also stress debriefings afterwards as a department to get together and make sure everybody has the stress coping mechanisms that they need, and we just come together as a group. Sometimes we could call in the next shift to come in early to relieve them, but they're behind the scenes doing some stressful work. It's a different kind of stress, but just the stress the same as the field responders. And the field responders do come help us get some closure with it, because that's one thing we don't have here is closure to the incident. The phone gets hung up, and others are out there dealing with the hands-on part of it, and we're here left wondering what happened. So it's always good when the field units reach out or come in and talk to us. It does help with that stress.
Let me ask you this, Jodi, who is a shift supervisor with Boone County Joint Communications. What about like happy calls? Somebody's giving birth and they have to call 911 because they're on the side of the road, whatever. Do you get resolution to some of more of the feel-good situations?
Yes, and actually I have experienced this in the past. It was, I think, back in the early 2000s. I was working the early morning shift. I think it was about 7:30 in the morning, and I was contacted by a family who was driving on I-70 trying to get to Boone Hospital. His wife was in labor with their daughter, and they were not going to make it to the hospital. And so our biggest concern was getting them off the highway to get pulled over so we could get responders to them. The dad ended up pulling over onto the Boone Electric parking lot and helped his wife deliver his baby right there in the front seat of their pickup truck. And it was exciting, I will admit. And my adrenaline, I was on an adrenaline dump for an entire day that day. But after I got off work that day, I went to Boone Hospital and I actually met the family and got to hold the baby. And it was really rewarding, and it's an experience that I will never forget.
Wow. And you guys, I guess you're actually hiring, Chad. Do we want to solicit before we let you guys go? Thank you for sharing that story, Jodi. And these are some things you can experience too, and we need people doing this very important work. Chad, if somebody were interested in potential employment with the Boone County Joint Communications Center, how would they start?
So the easiest thing to do is go on the website, on Joint Communications website or Boone County HR's website, or go to 911jobs.showmeboone.com. All those sites will point you back to all the information. There's frequently asked questions to get several of the questions asked that from people outside public safety that might not know what it's about. And then after that, if there's further questions that aren't answered there, you can pick up the phone and dial our administrative line at 573-554-1000. You can be directed to somebody to talk to, and we can even schedule what we call a sit-along, which is an observation period for anyone interested in coming to work here. We'll allow you to come sit in the 911 center and watch or sit with a dispatcher or a call taker and watch what happens in there live to make sure it's a career field you're interested in getting into.
It's fascinating. It is high-paced, and you're doing something important. Chad Martin, Director and Shift Supervisor, Jodi Pryor, Boone County Joint Communications Center. Anything else that you guys would like to add before we let you go?
No, thanks for having us. Thanks for highlighting the week, National Telecommunicators Week. We're here to celebrate the work that everybody here does behind the scenes, so it's important to highlight it.
You guys do excellent work. And Jodi, when your next shift comes in, if you please, and I'm being serious, and I think I speak for Hannah and Brian and Stephanie, whenever your crew comes in, please let them know that Wake Up Columbia, 93.9 The Eagle, and a lot of people in the community, man, we appreciate you for what you guys are doing. If you could tell your crew that today, man, we would appreciate it.
All right, will do. Thank you.
All right, thank you. It is a fascinating facility, that's for sure. Coming up, how you can help a charity. It's Leukemia. Consumers, whatever it is you want to call us, get educated before we go out and make spending decisions on some things. That's why you can check out the Better Business Bureau. You can just search them, Better Business Bureau. You can call them, 314-645-3300, or find them online. Because here's why. So if you're a business Besides helping consumers, they help businesses, too. As a business, there's a lot of free tools on the Better Business Bureau website. There's a lot of benefit when you have an A-plus rating from the Better Business Bureau, because you can let folks, hey, no, we're in business. You can let folks know that. But then how do you let them know that you do good business? How do you let them know that you have a certain set of ethics that you follow, and if there's an issue, you will correct that with customer? How do you let potential customers know that? The Better Business Bureau can help you with that. The Better Business Bureau. You can check them out online, BBB, or you can call the Better Business Bureau, 314-645-3300.
People are talking about Branden Rathert.
He's an outstanding man, and I'm sure that he'll do very well. I think he's just outstanding.
This is Wake Up Columbia, 93.9 The Eagle.
Now, the 6 pages of logs for January 6th are determined to be complete based on an official review of those White House records. So there are no missing pages, and the 7-hour gap is likely explained by the use of White House landlines, White House cell phones, and personal cell phones.
So that had to do with, you may have seen the breathless coverage last week. There's a 7-hour gap on the White House call logs from January 6th. And how many references do we hear or read in the national news? This is worse than Watergate, because that's Watergate, right? That's the stand. This is worse than Watergate. And how many times have we wrongly heard people say whenever there was the latest Trump thing that, oh my gosh, this is going to be Trump's Watergate. It's crazy. It's funny. It's comical. It's humorous. You're still going after this guy. And that is a fact checker saying there's nothing about the call logs. All right. Trump uses his personal phone, cell phone. That is common practice in the White House. Yes, there is a 6-hour blank spot in the call logs, and that is not uncommon. That happens. And that fact check, by the way, the people who were fact checking that story and saying there's nothing to this story after everybody else was falling all over themselves to be the first to get it out on your news alert on your smartphone. That fact check coming from
CNN.
I love it. Welcome. That's Stephanie Bell. Hannah, the producer, is here. My name is Branden Rathert. Wanted to bring in really quick a very inspirational Missourian. Her name is Lyndsay Rococo, and she's doing a big fundraiser, Leukemia and Lymphoma Society's Man and Woman of the Year fundraising campaign this year. Lyndsay, what can we do to help?
Hi, thanks so much for having me. I really appreciate it. I am honored. I was nominated for, like you said, the Leukemia Lymphoma Society Woman of the Year. It's an amazing opportunity. It's a huge fundraising campaign where from March 31st to June 10th, we fundraise as much as we can, and with 100% of the proceeds all going to the Leukemia Lymphoma Society, which is the largest nonprofit funder of blood cancer research worldwide. They have helped advance over 85% of the blood cancer treatment options out there. And I stand here today. It's a very personally important organization to me because I stand here today as a recent leukemia survivor. I was diagnosed with acute lymphoblastic leukemia in October of 2018. I was treated for 2.5 years of chemotherapy treatments, bone marrow biopsies, blood transfusions, platelet transfusions, spinal taps, you name it. I went through it for 2.5 years at Siteman Cancer Center here in St. Louis. And thank goodness I am standing here today, 2.5 years later. I rang my bell, my finishing treatment bell, on April 20th of 2021. So I am so thrilled and blessed that I get to celebrate my 1 year in remission in just a couple weeks.
Man.
I'm so excited to be able to give back to this organization.
We're excited. You're excited. You're on the 1 year anniversary almost of that bell being rung, and now you've been chosen to do this. How can we help you fundraise? I think probably the best thing, go to your Facebook page. How do we find you on Facebook, Lyndsay?
Yes, that would be great. So on my Facebook page, I have a fundraising page linked to both Facebook and to the Leukemia Lymphoma Society. So all the donations directly go to my fundraising link. And you'll find me, it's Lyndsay, so Lindsay, and then Lococo is spelled Lococo. And that will take you directly to my Facebook page where you'll be able to see the first post on there. It talks all about my fundraising campaign. It'll take you to the LLS, the Leukemia Lymphoma Society link that will explain more of my story a little bit more in depth and talk about LLS and how important they are.
All right, Lyndsay Rococo, thank you so much, and God bless you for what you're doing, and thanks for joining us and being an inspiration to others.
Thank you so much for having me.
You bet.
Here's a big old serving of leftovers on 93.9 The Eagle. Enjoy.
All right, leftovers this morning. Couple of, hey, whatever happened to, you might remember the dude on Walgreens, in California, how progressive they are. They don't arrest shoplifters, so people know they can come in, steal whatever they want. Walgreens, one of the largest pharmaceutical chains in the United States of America, they're shutting down pharmacies in California, especially in the San Francisco area, because they're saying, we can't deal with this. And the viral, famous video of the dude on the bicycle who's just dropping stuff into his bags and his bike and biked his little ride out of a Walgreens. He's been sentenced to prison. He was in trouble from other stuff and was out because that's how they do in California.
But not sentenced to prison for stealing all of that stuff.
No, not sentenced to prison for stealing all that stuff. Anything striking your fancy for leftovers this morning? We've got this woman in Virginia. She dug through the trash. She knew she had a $110,000 winning lottery ticket. She went and dug through the trash in like the apartment complex dumpster. Would you do it for 100? Yes, I would. You don't even
dig through trash
for 110 grand.
Yes.
Would you do it for 10 grand? Yeah.
Probably.
5 grand? Yeah. Depends on how big the dumpster is and which apartment complex it's in.
I remember all the kids like in middle school who used to lose their retainer. Remember that? And they'd have to dig through the trash at lunch for their retainer, and they're like, my parents are going to kill me. What's a retainer cost? $100? I don't know.
My dad's getting excited because the Gary Nolan Show is coming up just minutes from now here on 93.9 The Eagle. Tomorrow, hope you join us. Christopher Arps is here 6:35. The inside scoop on what's happening in Missouri politics and how it can affect you. See ya.
Bye.